read and hear what the Lord is saying. This is what the Bible is saying. And David inquired at the Lord, saying, shall I pursue after this troop? Shall I overtake them? And he answered him, pursue, for thou shalt surely overtake them. And without fail you shall recover all. Child of God, wherever you are, it doesn't matter what you have been through, what the country has been through. When God is on our side, all things shall work well. And today, this is the word of the Lord that He has given to me for you. That no matter how tough the situation is, don't give up. The story in the Bible that we have just read is about David. They had gone for a war. And when they came back home, they found the situation worse. Mali yake yote imeenda, ya wafanyikazi imeenda, bibi zao wamechukuliwa. It was worse, actually, even than what you think it's worse. You can imagine, you are coming home expecting to relax, to rest, to enjoy, but you can't, because everything that can keep you happy is not there. And the Bible says that David inquired of the Lord. And I want to encourage you this day that don't do things as per your thinking. It's always good to inquire wisdom, directions from God. And when David spoke to God, I would like you to know that our God speaks. He has a mouth, He has ears, and He knows us. Biblia inasema akamuuliza niwafuate nisifuate. Because there is a danger. You can follow, you can pursue. And instead of coming back, umalizwe. Listen, I know the situation in our country is not that much welcoming. Hali ni ngumu, hali ya maisha ni ngumu, mambo ni mazito. But hivi ndivyo Mungu anasema, chochote ulipoteza. Chochote kinakaa kana kwamba akionekani, don't give up. Fuatilia na utafuata. Iwe ni kazi yako, usiachilie, fuatilia. Iwe ni hali ya mwili, unasikia kana kwamba mgonjwa mdhaifu, usiseme ninaisha, fuatilia. And zaidi ya yote, usiache Mungu nyuma. We've just started life where we just left like 4 months back kwa ajili ya mambo ya magonjwa ambayo yamekuwa. Kenya, our nation, God loves us. And because we have God, whatever we think is lost, I'm here as a man of God to tell you nothing is lost. Daudi alipofuata, chochote alichofikiria kimepotea alipata. God says, pursue, for you shall definitely recover all. Maybe you have lost a job. I encourage you to follow up. Maybe you have lost family. Maybe your health is demanding. This is the time for you to pursue. And definitely you shall recover all in the name of Jesus. Let me pray with you wherever you are. Na Mungu atatenda kama Mungu. Baba wa mbinguni, katika jina la Yesu Kristo, jina lako libarikiwe. Nimelinena neno lako kama ulivyoliweka kwa Biblia. Daudi mtumishi wako akaongea na wewe na akamwambia fuatilia utapata yote. Na kuna mtu kwa nyumba yake Bwana amepoteza vitu. Mali yake imepotea, nyumba yake imepotea, mangari imepotea. Na umenena kwa kinywa changu ya kwamba fuatilia usichoke. Wacha ukampake mafuta ya Roho Mtakatifu. Wacha ukampe ujasiri na ushindi katika chochote atafuata na aweze kufaulu. Katika jina la Yesu Kristo tumeomba na kuamini. Amen. God bless you.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
By this development, the competition will become more interesting. By the way, I feel that this is a handiwork of one of my sons so that three of you get confused which one is yours.
In my absence, you all have become weak. Come on, hit me. Save me! Somebody save me! Save me! Please help me!
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Why do you trust your boss so much?
Well, that's because he's a good person. I've told you that before.
Well, he might be nice to you, dear, but I don't think he's a good person. You can't manipulate everybody, Mom. And Attorney Pedro told me that there's a video proving that Ricardo named Juana, their beneficiary.
No. No. How do you think a mother would feel if she found out her son trusted a maid more than he ever trusted his own mother?
In love with Ramon.
Embakasi utawala tuko locked ungem Autanyaururu Kasuku Massive
Jeshi ya Nyeri Coast Maua na Kura kwa locked mbaya
Kigumo Ward na ambao wote wako ndani ya KBC Channel 1
Akulaliki Wednesday bila the rev
Mbotela auta idara Kitengela
Kiambu County 33 Pipeline Meru anawakilisha
Rongai Maboksa pale go down Karatina auta Mlolongo wana enjoy show Lare Sub County auta Githurai 45 Lanet Barracks tuko ndani yake Okongo auta Carnation Maragwa Seti Nairobi
Fika wako locked mbaya sana
Watu wangu wa Nakuru Ngwaro
Auta Gilgil
live kutoka Mazeras Bahati Massive
Thika Massive,
Siaya Shikambi Kakamega Bungoma County
Kusia Boda
Kisumu City.
Malindi yote iko ndani ya the rev.
When I'm in Kenya, I tune in to the rave. Get your mind brave, focus, conscious.
Kenya
East Africa.
right
Keep it locked.
Gear up and maintain a healthy, fit and active lifestyle right there at home by keeping up with Gear Up on Channel 1, 5:30 to 6 a.m. Monday to Saturday. Gear up every day for every moment, and remember to stay home and keep safe.
Good morning, the 5th of August 2020. Glad that you're watching KBC Channel 1. This is Good Morning Kenya. I'm Regina Manyara. Now, top stories in the last 24 hours locally is that the Senate fails to vote for the 7th time on the county revenue sharing formula for the 7th time, a record 7th time in regard to that particular debate. And across the globe is that an explosion rocked Lebanon's capital, that is Beirut, ahead of a verdict on the murder of ex-Prime Minister Rafik Hariri in 2005. These are among the stories that we're going to be giving you in detail in not too long. Good morning once again, and glad to have you on board.
Good morning, and thank you so much for being a part of the show this far. Mine headlines are as Regina has told you, the main story being the threats and intimidation now as Senate fails again to pass a formula that will see monies disbursed to the counties. Which way forward? Well, all these and much more is what we shall be telling you in the course of the show today.
And at that, welcome to Good Morning Kenya. I'm Jen Boy. As always, glad you are with us this morning. Now, today being Wednesday, we always get to focus on matters concerning lifestyle. And today on our lifestyle segment, we are going to be having one Grace Akinyi, who is an undergrad pursuing her bachelor's degree in geology, but she also doubles as a model and is currently taking part in the Miss Pan-African International Beauty Contest. And she will be joining us in not too long to just tell us how the journey has been and what this contest prophetess is all about. Given she's very passionate about the African woman and trying to change the narrative when it comes to African women, or rather the dark-skinned woman, and modeling. So that discussion will be coming up in not too long. But remember, you can always be part of these discussions. We welcome you to share with us your thoughts. Let us know where you're watching us from this morning. The official hashtag to use on Twitter is Good Morning Kenya. My handle is the Genuine Boy. My colleagues at Ray Manyara, at Dorina Range, and at Sam W. Njoroge is how you can find us individually. And of course, our official station handle at KBC Channel 1 TV on Twitter and Facebook. In the meantime, let us know where you're watching us from. We will be also letting you know the situation on the roads in not too long.
Now we start off with the headlines. We're just looking and getting an overview of what has been captured on the various newspapers' front page. And starting off with the Standard, this is how it looks like. Senate vote fails a record 7th time. Senate vote fails a record 7th time. Captured there is Senate Speaker Kenneth Lusaka there. County allocations, debate on how counties will share revenue continues after senators failed to pass a bill for the 7th time. What changed the minds of those who opposed an adjournment motion last week? We'll be getting details in regard to that as we continue with this segment of In the Headlines, just touching on what has made headlines. And below there, the burden of our aging civil service. Service disruption. 9 out of 10 civil servants are over the age of 46, and apart from owning smartphones, they hardly use the internet at home. Now, the government services have almost ground to a halt after those above 58 and those with underlying medical conditions are forced to work from home. Underlying issues, they're affecting the civil service. Remember, it's a time when we've been encouraged to work from home. It seems that the civil service, in terms of its capacity, the workings of that particular service are grinding to a halt there. That has been highlighted on the front page of the Star. Further on, there are also details about politics, where politicians now want nicknames on ballot boxes. Yes. So do you know your leader, respective leader, real name, or do you prefer calling them by their nickname? Well, a few proposals there is now politicians want to have those nicknames on the ballots to ensure that you recognize who you're voting for. That's the front page of the Star on this morning, the 5th of August 2020. Standard, sorry.
The same story is given prominence on the Star this morning, where now the angle is about the threats and intimidation as Senate fails again. As Regina says, this is a record 7 times, and as per discussion on the floor of the House, dialogue is supposed to be given a chance. However, as per the Chief Whip, that from the majority side, that is Irungu Kangata, who said that I think time has come for parties to discipline and whip their members to make sure that this formula passes. So what way forward? Will it be dialogue, or will it be a scenario whereby there will be parliamentary group meetings summoned by the party heads to lobby and rally their members towards passing a formula that will see monies disbursed to the counties? Well, that is the story that has been given prominence by the Star this Wednesday, also owing to the fact that Johnson Sakaja, the Nairobi County Senator, did say that he's already facing threats and intimidation, intimating that he did not even spend his night at home and had been camping at the basement of Parliament buildings from 5:30 a.m. yesterday. So what way forward when it comes to the division of revenue? Well, that is a story and an discussion we shall be having in the course of the show today.
Coming to the front page of the Daily Nation, that same story still given prominence here on the front page of the Daily Nation. Revenue rebellion against Uhuru Raila. Divided senators ditch party position, team up with foes to protect regional interests. We'll be giving you more details about that, of course, being termed as the elusive formula push for a win-win outcome forces Senate for a record 7th time to suspend debate on sharing of county cash. We'll be giving you more details as it has been as they have been approached on the different dailies this morning. Still on the front page of the Daily Nation, remember yesterday we had the story about a Kenyan family that some 4 family members that were arrested for tax fraud in the U.S., having allegedly stolen over 2 billion Kenyan shillings. Well, today we have a similar story here on the front page of the Daily Nation, and this time it involves Kenyan sisters who terrorized America. We'll be letting you know how much they did steal. Of course, this is still in relation to tax fraud that was committed there. Still on the front page of the Daily Nation, at the top there, COVID billions. Pandemic brings a windfall to the connected. Remember, the Daily Nation had highlighted that they're going to be having a series in regards to some of those companies and individuals who have been gaining and are just milking this whole COVID situation to earn an extra coin or two. And of course, still on the front page of the Daily Nation, blast rocks Beirut. There was a massive explosion that hit the Lebanese capital port yesterday, killing dozens. Of course, we'll be giving you more details of that as we proceed on with this segment.
Talking about details is that now revenue debate continues as the Senate adjourns. A report prepared by reporter Edward Kabasa indicates the 34 senators voted to suspend the debate, even as Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja claimed his life was in danger for rallying senators from losing counties to defeat the contentious formula. Now, in a session that degenerated into finger-pointing, senators pleaded for a bonding session to help them come up with a win-win formula for all counties.
Story that is covered by the Star. It's all about COVID-19, but this time around it's a ray of hope. And why do I say that? Because now UNICEF says that should a vaccine be approved by the end of this year or sometime next year, then Kenya is among 92 countries whose population, or 20% of its population, will be vaccinated. And this was said yesterday by UNICEF, a story that has been covered by the Star this morning, and also other things that have been taken into consideration in the course of coverage on this story have got to do with cost, because there has been that element of should this vaccine be approved, how much will it cost, owing to the level of investment that has gone into preparing it, and also the level of stakeholder engagement that will be required from a community level all the way to a global level, that is as far as the health sector is concerned, and also political, that is government, to ensure that the rollout of this vaccine is done and done effectively. That is a story that has been given a prominence by the Star today in as far as COVID-19 is concerned. So once the vaccine is here, Kenya is among the 92 nations assured that 20% of its population will be vaccinated. And now the question begs, what criteria will be used to select the 20%? That story is on the Star this Wednesday.
All right, still keeping up with that whole story about the revenue roar. Kenya, here talks, the Daily Nation at least talks of how the revenue sharing roar has shaken up political camps, and now dispute over the county cash formula brings strange bedfellows together. With senators joining rivals to vote against party positions. Now, before this sixth attempt by the Senate last week to pass the proposed formula for sharing county revenue, Kenya had solid political camps whose loyalties were known before debate and, of course, virtually every issue. But now, after this sitting yesterday, it seems now all lawmakers from devolved units that will lose money in the new plan gang up against those from counties that would gain. Of course, this is now the back and forth that is now facing the country in regards to this revenue sharing formula. It has stirred quite the debate, and of course, so people have had so much to say about this on social media. We will be sampling some of those views, and of course, this whole debate of whether it's numbers or geography, trying to see which one will come out at the top in regards to this situation.
More emphasis on that issue of revenue sharing, as captured by the Standard this morning, is that interestingly, the senators who had last week shot down a similar adjournment motion, which was moved by Minority Leader, that is James Orengo of Siaya, and seconded by Moses Wetangula from Bungoma, voted in support of an adjournment. Now, some claim that the senators opposed to the proposed formula had retreated after sensing defeat. Edward Kabasa has more details on what transpired in the Senate yesterday.
The third basis for revenue allocation will remain on ice as senators seek a workable approach to the controversial formula. On Tuesday, 34 senators voted to adjourn the debate despite the government's resolve to expedite the passage of the formula.
This gives us room for us to go and find a lasting and uniting formula. And I beg my brother, Senator Sakaja, even though we have received as many threats and many problems, including headlines, I beg you, my brother, to accept this adjournment motion.
The fact that we oppose the adjournment that was proposed by James Orengo does not mean that we should also oppose this one.
The controversial formula has divided senators, with some arguing that it is a financial disaster for marginalized counties.
The counties that are populous and the counties that are less populous must be seen as 2 feet walking our nation to progress and unity.
Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja accused the police of being used by unnamed quarters to try and intimidate him for moving an amendment to counter the third basis for revenue allocation.
You agree to disagree, but that agreement that is reached is binding. I've been a chairman of a party. I know that's what a party position is. But for those who think even you can do 10 more hashtags, it is okay. In fact, yesterday I helped them, tweet them. You can even, now you can send, because you're not voting, it's okay. I was born in this town in Ngara. I'm used to this life. I can stay in cells, but I will stand for one Kenya.
You refuse to attend the parliamentary group meeting. Yeah, it's a fact. So therefore, do not come to mislead the House. Do not come to mislead the House.
The contentious formula, as amended by the Finance and Budget Committee, proposes, among others, that populous counties be allocated more funds as opposed to the less populous ones.
We are fighting over 316 billion in a budget of 3 trillion. Where do the other trillions go? Because if the other trillions were evenly spread and equitably developing the country, this protraction will not be there.
We must fight the outsiders. And those who are warning senators, we warn them that if you come for our senators, we will come for you too. Thank you.
The Commission on Revenue Allocation on Monday said that the existing gaps can only be closed through an increase in the equitable share allocation to counties going forward. CRA Chairperson Jen Kiringai argued that the new data rising from the 2019 population census has amplified the magnitude of the differences in allocation among counties.
And from the issues on revenue allocation, let's now move on to COVID-19. As I had earlier told you, UNICEF says that should a vaccine be approved by the end of this year or next year, 2021, then Kenya is among 92 nations assured to get the vaccine. But then the twist is that 20% of its population will be getting this particular vaccine. So some of the issues that you can expect will be generating conversation among stakeholders is, number one, the criteria to be used to identify this 20% population. Number two, the cost implication, because it is said that a heavy investment has gone into this particular vaccine. So how will governments share this cost, and should it or will it trickle down to Mwananchi? But yet other angles that have been given prominence to in as far as COVID-19 coverage is concerned in the Star this morning. It's all about the preparedness of our health workers to combat COVID-19. Already there is an issue to do with PPEs, and now nurses are concerned about readiness to handle the virus, and they want timely payment of allowances. That is yet another story that you will find in the Star this morning in as far as coverage on COVID-19 is concerned. But they've also gone ahead and given a big read to protesting during a pandemic and confronting the civil rights abuses. Of course, we've seen protests across the world on various issues, and these are happening at a time when we are all combating a pandemic. So what exactly does it mean? And as far as the war against coronavirus is concerned, that is yet another angle that has been covered by the Star in as far as COVID-19 is concerned.
Now, coming to the Daily Nation on matters concerning COVID-19, this is in regards to the series that was started yesterday by the Daily Nation in regards to companies and individuals that are making an extra coin at the expense of the fight against COVID-19. And here the focus has shifted to Nyanza, where investigations have revealed that some of the firms that were awarded multi-million shilling contracts are not properly registered, while others lack the capacity altogether to manufacture some of these personal protective equipment and fight against COVID-19. Now, in Nyanza, COVID-19 brought a windfall for the connected. Billions were coming in from the national government. Hundreds of millions more were set aside in the county coffers. And of course, for the well-heeled, the feeding troughs are said to have been overflowing, and it was time to eat. Now, just looking at some of the figures here when it comes to the companies that were given tenders, in Siaya, there were a total of 6 companies that were given tenders, and the COVID-19 budget for Siaya was 97 million Kenya shillings. Going to Kisumu, the total COVID-19 budget is 362.7 million, with only 2 companies listed there. And in Homa Bay, there are 7 companies, and the total budget for COVID-19 being 98 million Kenya shillings. Now, the total amount of money that President Kenyatta had set aside for COVID emergency package is 5 billion Kenya shillings, and the amount that Kisumu County has received alone is 159 million Kenya shillings. Now, this has led to the Kenya Bureau of Standards recently delisting some firms that were producing brandless masks, and of course, they are not meeting the basics that were required when it comes to the production of some of these personal protective equipments for especially our health workers during this time.
Now, still keeping tabs on COVID-19 is a delay in test results causing avoidable deaths, as say Medic. Now, that is a story that has been captured and highly given a lot of prominence on the Standard this morning on page 8. Says that patients take up to 14 days to get their results back, and some people have died while awaiting the results of this testing. Now, in a recent incident in Nairobi, a patient whose sample was obtained after displaying key symptoms died at home while awaiting the results, which came back positive 7 days too late. Now, in regard to this issue is that the medics recommend the results be fast-tracked by increasing capacity of county labs to do the test. Well, at the same time, in its yesterday's report, is that the Ministry of Health is acknowledged a long turnaround for relaying lab results as a key challenge that delays public health action. The ministry also plans to strengthen COVID-19 diagnostic quality assurance. Further on, the medics also recommend that the rapid response teams should keep track of samples and obtain results directly from the labs, as opposed to waiting for these same results to be submitted to the National Data Center prior to being released to their clients through them. So, below there's also a story that has captured the eye of the scribes on Standard, saying that no gun salute for officer who died on duty. The passing on of this particular officer was highlighted so much on social media. He collapsed in Meru while, providing security services for a bank. Apparently, under the new COVID-19 regulations, it seems that he was buried in a quiet manner, unlike what would have been regarded as, giving him honor, saying that during this time of COVID-19, we're avoiding that drill because it involves a form of parade which could put people at risk of contracting the virus. That is according to Imenti OCPD Robinson Boloi. Now, talking about the state of preparedness that has been highlighted by my colleague Sam Joroge in regard to just the frontline workers, is that the First Lady received some equipment. And to just put that issue into detail is our reporter Ben Chumba.
As the first cohort of the 5,100 community health volunteers completed a one-month training on COVID-19 response, First Lady Margaret Kenyatta applauded the key role they play in combating the COVID-19 pandemic.
You have been at the heart of this COVID-19 pandemic. You have been actively involved in contributing towards national efforts in tackling health issues.
While presiding over the virtual graduation ceremony of the community health volunteers who successfully completed their training, sponsored by the Beyond Zero initiative at a cost of 4.5 million shillings. First Lady expressed optimism that skills acquired in the training will help beneficiaries take a lead role in COVID-19 pandemic.
Congratulations to you, the first graduating cohort of community health workers. Your commitment to successfully complete the COVID-19 response curriculum, despite the demands on your time by your family and your work, is truly commendable.
At the same time, the First Lady condemned the stigmatization of individuals and families affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. The training was delivered virtually by the African Medical and Research Foundation, AMREF, through a digital learning platform called Leap M Health. Ben Chumba, reporting for Channel 1 News.
Right, let's move on now to other matters that have been covered by the Star. What quality of water is your child taking? And this is courtesy of, this question is courtesy of a report by UNICEF in conjunction with an organization known as Pure Earth, because now they have identified that in Kenya, around 326,000 children below the age of 18 have been found to have high blood lead levels. Of course, we all know what high lead levels in your blood can do to you, even having irreversible health complications in the future. And around 2.8 million, 2.8 million children were found to have blood lead levels above the capacity of 5 micrograms per deciliter. So the 326,000 have got 10 micrograms per deciliter, but 2.8 million have got 5 micrograms per deciliter. And of course, should this particular situation persist, it therefore means that these children are directly at risk of developing serious health complications in the course of their lifespan. So the quality of water is important even as we move along with life, and that story has been covered by the Star this morning.
To the Daily Nation in regards to young people, we have this story about Kenyan sisters who terrorized America. As I mentioned earlier, yesterday we had a similar story of a Kenyan family of young men who had also terrorized Americans by defrauding quite a number of people. And yesterday's figure was 2 billion. And now coming to this story today, where Kenyan sisters who scammed U.S. taxpayers out of millions in order to conceal their true identities, they used to file fraudulent tax returns electronically through public internet hotspots such as restaurants, through unsecured private wireless networks. Now, these two young sisters, they are Loretta Wawinya, aged 32, and Lillian Nzogi, aged 28, who were running a syndicate which they believed they were left to run by their uncle, who fled the U.S. back in 2007 and came back to Kenya unnoticed, where he was coming to hide out. It's alleged he was coming to hide out, and he left the two young sisters to continue running the syndicate. And of course, they managed to do this because they were young, and nobody considered their innocence as any form of guilt. So they continued running this family-run tax filing syndicate. They used to fake documents, and so far, by the time he was coming back home, that is Nyumu, they had filed tax returns, tax fund claims worth $13 million US, that is roughly 1.3 billion Kenya shillings. And of course, when he came, he was awaiting, one of them had actually, one of the clients that were defrauded had actually caught up with him, and he was set to be arraigned in court, but he did not get to attend the court proceeding, and that is when they realized that he had actually fled the country and came back to Kenya. And of course, the FBI have been continuing with the investigations to date until the young ladies were arrested in Missouri. And of course, they are alleged to have recruited a number of other Kenyans who are living, actually 13 Kenyans who are living in, they were operating in Kansas and Missouri. They had allegedly recruited another 13 Kenyans to join the syndicate and, of course, continue with this money-minting business of defrauding taxpayers in the U.S. They are alleged to have defrauded a total of 1.5 billion Kenya shillings. They had filed 540 fake tax return claims, and, of course, the team having 13 members. Ooh.
Now, still bringing it up in as far as, the health system is concerned, away from matters, of theft, especially abroad. I can use fondly that particular reference where we say that is daring abroad, but I may be charged with the label, but hey, that is indeed daring abroad. On a lighter note. Now, bringing it back to COVID-19 and how it's affecting the issue of the medical system, is that a childhood anti-TB vaccine does not prevent COVID-19. Now, while the vaccine works against COVID-19, and it's still in the works, the vaccine is still in the works, the claim that the BCG, otherwise the vaccine against CBD, can protect the SARS-CoV virus has been found to be a far-fetched theory. This is according to medics. Now, TB is an immunosuppressive disease, so when you have it, you are more exposed to COVID-19 and you're not taking your medicine, then there's a risk of death. But then the narrative that BCG vaccine can protect you, that is a fallacy. That is according to Dr. Kakai there. There was a rumor going around that, this particular vaccine could save someone's life in as far as COVID-19 infections and fatality cases are concerned. But now medics have come out to dispute that theory and saying that it is far-fetched. Quoted there once again is that they do not want to be labeled as COVID-19 patients, and that there is a chance TB patients on treatment will discontinue drugs and progress to multi-resistant TB, which is complicated to treat. This comes at a time when, everyone across the globe is on a race to find a cure, or better yet, a vaccine of this virus that has taken, the globe by storm. Still focusing on the domino effect of COVID-19, we cross over to Kitui County. A report by Purity Museo indicates that that particular county has recorded an alarming 327 cases of teen pregnancies since the COVID pandemic hit the country in March.
A survey by Kitui County Department of Children shows that about 3,000 children aged 19 years and below were reported pregnant in Kitui County this year alone. The data shows that the numbers peaked in the month of March after schools were closed over the COVID-19 disease.
The record is that we have 3207 pregnancies, which is an alarming number when you look at it, because those are the only ones that have been reported through the Ministry of Health. And therefore, there could be other pregnancies that have not yet been reported, meaning that the number could be even higher.
We have so many complications associated with this activity. You find that these are the children who will end up having obstructed labor. These are the children who may end up having the rupture of the uterus. These are the children who will end up having complication of even delivering children who are already dead because their passage is not already developed.
Lower Yatta Deputy County Commissioner Gerald Mutuku vowed to ensure culprits are brought to book.
Hakuna msichana atabeba mimba na azae kabla hatujakamata yule mwanaume anayehusika na hiyo mimba. Ninawahakikisha wote kwamba mimba ni kitu inaonekana haifichika, na ni lazima huyo mtoto kupitia kwa mzazi wake atoe habari mimba ni ya nani.
Speaking at Kwavonza during a community awareness campaign to stem the spiraling pregnancy tide, Kitui County Children Officer Augustine Nyamai called on parents to take charge of children during this time schools are closed.
The reason why we are having increased numbers in teenage pregnancies, one is because of laxity of parents when it comes to parenting, and two, children are at home, and when they are not being controlled by the parents, and they are free and moving around, then they become more vulnerable.
Purity Museo, Channel 1 News.
That's right. We need to move on to other stories covered by the Star. Kimilili MP Didmus Barasa was yesterday released on a 100 Kenya shillings cash bond after being accused of fraud, and this story has been covered by the Star this morning, of course, detailing the fact that this is not the first time the legislator is finding himself before the courts on claims of fraud. So that story given prominence by the Star. I will tell you the page, but I will not. So that is what they have covered for you today. Freed on a 100 Kenya shillings cash bond and case to continue in November.
Keeping up with matters of justice is that 5 are held after a woman was killed, and this is police in Machakos have arrested 5 suspects linked to last week's brutal attack and killing of a 60-year-old woman at Kiamboko village in Mumbini location of Machakos County. Now we cross over, still keeping up with what is happening in the corridors of justice. Just to give more detail in regard to what has been highlighted there by the Star and voiced there by Sam Jeroge, is that particular Member of Parliament, Dismas Baraza, was released yesterday on a 100,000 shillings bond following an arrest on fraud charges. Here are details of what transpired in the corridors of justice as prepared by reporter Ben Troy Njoy.
Kimilili legislator Dismas Baraza has been arraigned in court, facing 2 counts of selling a Toyota Hiace, which still had an uncleared loan from Uwezo Microfinance Bank. Baraza, through lawyer George Haminwa, however, denied the allegations before Kajiado resident magistrate Becky Chelotti, who set free the legislator on a 100,000 shillings bond.
Kenya shillings 100,000 with a surety of a similar amount or cash bill of 50,000 shillings.
Yes, so yes, how much apply to?
Okay, so we'll meet you on the 27th of November for the hearing.
Elsewhere, the prosecution case against former Presbyterian Church of East Africa PCEA moderator David Gadanju and 2 other suspects accused of stealing 50 million shillings from the church did not kick off as scheduled after one of the accused failed to show up in court. Kiambu Senior Principal Magistrate Stella Atambo said the next mentioned date at September the 4th, when the accused person James Muiruri is expected to appear in court. The court was, however, informed that James Muiruri was still held up in South Sudan due to a lockdown occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic and could not appear in court.
Since Mr. Juguna has indicated that he is held up in South Sudan, I'll give it a further mention date for all parties to be present or counsel to agree on a further hearing date. That would have to be in the month of September.
For Channel 1 News, I'm Ben Troy Njoy.
Now, moving on to some international news. This is in regards to the explosion that happened yesterday in Beirut, as the cause is yet to be established, but dozens of casualties were reported as a result of that blast that rocked the Lebanese capital yesterday. Dozens, of course, were killed and other dozens were wounded. And, of course, buildings are still, there are an unconfirmed number in regards to some other casualties that are yet to be tabulated. But there was an amateur footage that was uploaded on social media yesterday that showed 2 explosions that went off yesterday. Some, they're being described as devastating tornado-like shockwaves ripping through the city, and there's actually one eyewitness account who said, we heard an explosion, then we saw the mushroom. That was the account of one eyewitness who was there. The deafening explosion from a balcony is what had me running, another person's account. And of course, a third one saying the force of the blast threw us backwards into the apartment, she said. The cause of the explosion is yet to be determined, and this was a statement that was issued by the ATF to in regards to this explosion that happened yesterday. And of course, the official national news agency confirmed the deaths in the blast without citing a number. And of course, more of this information is going to be put out as they continue to figure out the root cause of this explosion that happened yesterday.
Right, and of course, I'm very sure before we delve into the Star, Regina Manyara Getao has got an angle on the Beirut explosion as covered by the Standard. Regina?
Yes, indeed. And that particular angle is somewhat different. Just giving us more insight.
What I think is that this particular explosion took place just on the eve of the verdict on, verdict on the death of former, or rather ex-Prime Minister, that is Rafiq Harir, that took place in 2005. A lot of speculation if indeed it was a mishap, it was deliberate, or just an accident. If you look at it, all this explosion rocked the city, especially the capital there. And we are yet to find out, because the reports indicate that, this particular issue has come up, around a lot of political tension in Lebanon, and with street protests, no less, against the government that has been handling, or rather facing, the worst economic crisis since 1975 and 1990 civil war. We continue praying for Lebanon. Remember, this is a hashtag that is already trending on social media there, especially on Twitter, and footage has also been released there. So if you want to catch up with what is happening and what is happening in Lebanon, well, you can get onto social media and get informed on that. Just to give you a fact about Lebanon and its problems is that public debt to gross domestic product, the country, what it owes compared to what it produces, this was the third highest in the world, and unemployment rate stands at 25%. That is nearly a third of the population that is living below the poverty line.
We're also appreciating more news that are coming forth from the international scene closer home. We've got Somalia, which sets up a disaster warning center to battle floods and locusts. And talking about locusts, what became of that conversation? And that is something we need to revisit. But of course, concern has been raised in Somalia about the surge of locusts, and also the fact that the country remains so vulnerable to floods, and a disaster warning center has been set up at a former UN building by the government of Somalia to help address this particular issue. That story is covered by the Star this Wednesday on their News World section.
All right, let's now move on to some business news where, interestingly, you've mentioned the whole issue to do with locusts. And here there is actually a story that briefly touches on that. And this is in regards to the Treasury starting up an audit in COVID-19 and locust billions. Now, the ministries and agencies are expected to submit reports by Tuesday. This is Tuesday next week for scrutiny. And when it comes to the figures, there is approximately 78.4 billion Kenya shillings that the IMF had given Kenya earlier on in the year in the fight against COVID-19, and of course to cushion the economy, and a further 107 billion Kenya shillings that World Bank had approved in loans for budgetary support and to cushion the country against the pandemic shocks. And of course another 30.3 million Kenya shillings of taxpayers' funds was directed to the aerial spraying during the locust invasion that we were witnessing earlier on in the year. And of course, ministries are expected to give reports so that the Treasury can just audit how these funds were used, and of course give a report after all this is done, to just ensure financial accountability is still withheld during this time. Of course, following the catastrophic flooding that took place towards the end of 2019, the desert locusts had devastated the country, and of course it was almost termed as a mini pandemic, as has been written here.
Now, still bringing us to matters of business on this end, and as far as the Standard is concerned, is that there's been given prominence to that issue of locusts. But now the FAO, which is the Food and Agriculture Organization, has says that Kenya has beaten the locust upsurge, at least for now. However, FAO warns that more people in Kenya and the region will be food insecure due to the damage that had already been caused by the locust, as will pasture for livestock. Now, statistics indicate that over the last 6 months, different mechanisms, including overhead spraying, has killed about 500 billion locusts. Remember, this was a phenomenon that was last experienced over 70 years ago. 500 billion locusts have so far been eliminated. But however, this has been overshadowed by COVID-19, with governments committing huge resources to contain the spread of the virus. FAO warning that we are still assessing the damage, but we have noticed abnormal poor livestock body condition in areas where desert locusts were present, and that indicates that grazing was limited in these areas this season despite the good rains. One case in point is Turkana. We saw sorghum crops around 15 to 20% damage or reduction of the yield. In as far as the locust invasion, Kenya has a locust invasion in check. The ripple effect is that a majority of us, especially those places that had this particular invasion, might be food insecure. That is according to FAO. Still keeping up with matters, agriculture and business, is that a total of 29 companies have so far shown interest in leasing 5 government-owned sugar companies. A report by Benson Rioba indicates that the list dominated with local firms, among them 5 local privately owned sugar companies. The bids will now be evaluated to ascertain their suitability and financial ability to manage the public sugar millers.
The privatization process of Chemilil, Mohoroni, Miwani, Nzoia and Sony sugar companies has kicked off after the Agriculture Food Authority Tuesday officially opened bids for the millers. The tendering process, which was closed yesterday, attracted a total of 29 both local and foreign companies.
Next is Jumbo Farm Masters.
Local millers dominated the bidding list, with Kibos, Transmara, Sukari, Butali and West Kenya Sugar Industries have shown interest in managing the 5 government-owned sugar millers.
Which are 2 copies is Butali Sugar Mill.
The tender also attracted foreign companies, with Brazil's Sao Montinho SA and India's Raja Ramambapu Patel Cooperative Sugar Factory Limited also registering interest in the bids. China's energy company Shenzhen Star Instruments and Singapore's IAU International Holdings Limited also forwarded bids. Earlier, Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya had indicated that only companies with financial muscle to revive the debt-ridden millers will be awarded the long-term lease.
We're interested in leasing the sugar mills is a commitment to invest into modernizing the sugar factories. We will expect that those who will lease the factories will actually refurbish the mills. Most of them, the equipment are obsolete, old, inefficient.
The privatization of the 5 state-owned millers is part of the reforms initiated in the sugar industry by the government to revive the ailing sector. Benson Rioba reporting for Channel 1 Business.
Now let's get now to the sports section of the Star, where Kenya Rugby League now plans for a 2-tier show for 2021, and the Kenya Rugby League Federation will incorporate a 2-tier league for the 2021 season. I'm sure this is good news to rugby fans, and Chairman Richard Nyakwaka said that the first tier will have 6 clubs and will be the Premier League that will be running on a semi-professional basis, while the second tier will have 8 clubs, and Nyakwaka said that they have received positive responses from clubs across the country. So that story is covered there by the Star as far as sports is concerned.
A quick look at what's happening on the sports segment of the Daily Nation. This is in regards to fortunes for one young starlet player. She is Katungwa, that is Elizabeth Katungwa, who is Harambee Starlet's striker, who it seems fortune is favoring her as she now relocates to Sweden to pursue her further career when it comes to the sporting. She is set to continue experiencing firsthand playing in an empty stadium, where she takes to the field this weekend in Stockholm. She was accompanied by one Mary Kinude, who's also a teammate in the Harambee Starlets team, and they are set to continue with their careers in Sweden. And of course, this comes at a really great time for these young ladies to continue just soaring higher and higher in the sports arena, and of course going for these opportunities abroad as they present themselves.
Now, international scene, and as far as sports is concerned, is Manchester United must pay 14 billion in Sancho's deal. Now, the German club have set August 10 deadline for the terms to be agreed upon. Now, according to former Manchester United midfielder Phil Neville, Sancho can play out there and play really well. You'd say that someone who will fit the profile. You think Rashford and Greenwood, both British players. You think of Fernandes, he's young and hungry. Sancho fits that 14 billion in Sancho deal for Manchester United. Further on, focusing on the Premier League, is now players who deliberately cough at others or match officials can be red carded, says football rule makers and the Football Association FA. Now, the International Football Association Board, IFAB, said such an offense fell within using offensive, insulting, or abusive language. The guidance comes amid the global coronavirus pandemic. And the FA also issued guidance for grassroots football, which will come into force immediately. It added that referees must not look to punish routine coughing, and an action can only be supported where it is evident that it was a clear act against someone else. Further on is that, meanwhile, well, that is still happening as far as international sports is concerned, is that FIFA President Gianni Infantino will continue in his post as the World Football Governing Body insisted on Sunday, as they blasted the launch of Swiss criminal proceedings against him. Quoted there is that there was and there is absolutely no reason to open any investigation because nothing remotely criminal has happened, and there's nothing that suggests that any form of criminal ongoing. This is according to FIFA. That's just bringing you up to speed with what is happening in the international scene as far as sports is concerned. No deliberate coughing on the football pitch, and indeed this, if you actually do this to a player or to any match official during a game, you will be red carded. New terms and conditions in the wake of COVID-19, as different sectors try to just deal with this issue, this pandemic. There, you will be red carded for coughing. There. The red card there you can see indeed, and you know what it means. In a team of 11, it means one of them will be out. We'll continue keeping up with matters sports as they happen internationally, regionally, and also focusing on our own Kenya Premier League as we await those elections for the Green Army, that is Gor Mahia. Now we take a short break as far as in the headlines is concerned, but we're not done and dusted as far as Good Morning Kenya is concerned. We will also be bringing you up to speed with what is happening on our major roads. We take a short break, we'll return, but from me is have a good day. I'm Regina Manyara.
Some of the greatest people we meet are women. Women who understand that fear is nothing more than an obstacle that stands in the way of progress.
A few minutes later, he put his hand up my skirt. This lady had been in an abusive marriage. I was terrified.
Been set up.
You've been set up by your boss?
Yes.
This is how shocking it is.
Yeah.
The lucky ones and the strong ones are the ones who go out and start talking about it.
Women who understand that when life hits you hard, you do not tremble, but instead you hit back harder.
Everything that you do has consequences. The moment we do not speak about sexual violence, we are effectively condoning the practice.
Doing things right is a challenge, but doing things right consistently is a greater challenge.
An event can happen in your life and it instantaneously changes the way you do things.
Living my life reflectively.
We need to learn how to have those hard conversations.
We just have to know when to say no.
Power is not given to you. You have to take it. And it's only when we truly embrace the power we have as women that we achieve remarkable things against all odds. Dadas, this Sunday at 4 p.m.
On the next episode.
A lot has been said about the National Youth Service. Granted. But President Uhuru Kenyatta's quest for this institution to be a center that nurtures the youth of this country to serve their nation remains grounded.
The president told us clearly there will never be an NYS3.
Giving opportunity.
Ninashukuru Mungu, without NYS nisingekuwa ninajua kufanya hizi vitu zenye mnaziona mbele yenu.
Leaving a positive mark.
Yeah, I've been taught to do everything in a garment.
Watch it on Thursday at 8:30 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
On the next episode of
Kama nilikuwa nampenda, shida iko wapi? Yeye yaruhusiwa kuoa hata wake wanne. Matatizo kwako tu.
Mimi nilihisi kitabu, nilijua kwa wampenda. Shetani! Mzuka! Usimfuate. Sio nishakufa bwana. Nini wewe? Jamani. Shetani! Majirani!
Tujali kazi zenu
tunakupa burudani.
Na umbea, yani stories zinazo trend kwenye mitandao ya kijamii.
See baby now we are two in one. We are two in one. Interview kali za wasanii wapendao. Mguu upande panda milima. Awaye izungushia hapo ma. Kama una
ndani ya March of Life kupitia KBC Channel 1 na Pwani FM.
Kuanzia mida ya saa 3 mpaka mida ya 5 kamili asubuhi. Ukiwa nami ni Teken 1GB.
Mimi ni Marco. Keep it locked.
Malewa.
Isemeka wana kwa daddy.
And at 7 minutes to 8 a.m., it is time for our fast traffic link this Wednesday morning. Our focus will be on Outer Ring Road, and this is because at least 4 footbridges have already been installed on that specific route. So this morning, we focus on how that has been impacting traffic, given that there are 11 bridges that are slated to be installed along Outer Ring Highway. If you've noted, that at least the better part of this week, we've been looking at how footbridge installation have been impacting traffic on major roads. On Monday, we looked at Ngong Road and Thika Highway yesterday, and this morning we look at Outer Ring Road. So we just begin from that area before you get to the Donholm roundabout, coming all the way from Feather Estate Pipeline as you're heading over to the city center. And this early morning hour, it doesn't look so bad given the fact that, you know, it is really the early, it is morning. So ultimately, oftentimes really expect busy, you know, the road to be busy in terms of gridlock, major parts of this route. But as of now, it doesn't really look that bad. However, in just some specific areas, that's where traffic is just being spotted, and this is next to that Donholm subway as you're heading over to Donholm Estate, branching off to Jogoro, still using the same road, heading over to Juju Road, as well as Thika Highway on the other side. So that actually on that specific lane, that is just where traffic is being spotted, and this is on the lane that is leaving the estates as you head over to the city center. Now, this reconstruction process of this specific road began sometime in 2016. So what they're doing now is just trying to ensure that at least footbridges are installed on this road, because part of what came with its reconstruction process, or better still on the downside of it, was that death cases were really being witnessed, and the road, you know, this specific route was recording high number of death cases. This is after Outer Ring Road, simply because it was expanded to make it an 8-lane, road. Yes, reducing on the traffic flow, but it came with the downsides of recording high death cases. And so this is why it was very important for the Kenyan Urban Roads Authority to just ensure that at least they erect footbridges. So far, 5 have already been installed. 4 have been earmarked on some designated areas, and at least 2 have not yet been placed where they will be installed. But we believe, as time goes by, at least that will be worked on. But the last bridge to be installed on this route was the one along Tena area. This is just past Mtindwa, and sometime late last year we really witnessed heavy traffic gridlock towards the end of the year, just to necessitate the installation of that bridge. So in terms of traffic, at least I could clearly say that has been coming along well, because then again, the other reason as to why bridges are normally installed installed on roads is, first of all, to also reduce on the traffic flow, and I already explained that, how that works. So clearly that has been coming along well, because in terms of traffic, at least it doesn't look so bad as how you'd expect this specific road to look. And even as we speak about the downsides that came with this reconstruction process, another one was also businesses. When you look at the large-scale businesses or even the minor ones that were along this road, some of them just had to be demolished to necessitate the reconstruction of this road again, just to make it an 8-lane road. But also when you look at that again has just been serving well, because another reason as to why this road was reconstructed was also to reduce on traffic, and clearly that has also just been serving its purpose. But let's come to traffic now, and just as you branch off to Jogoo Road, because earlier on we were spotting a bit of a gridlock around the Donholm area, specifically at the Donholm rail, just on that area which used to be the Donholm roundabout. But as you branch off from that specific roundabout, as you head over to Jogoo Road, oftentimes on this specific area where you're just spotting or seeing more of the green, oftentimes you will be seeing those cocktail of colors, indicating that yes, traffic is building up in some parts, moving at a pretty slow pace, in some others just at a standstill. But as of now, an interesting bit, this is actually on both lanes. So that means the lane that is leaving the CBD as you head over to Jogoo Road, as well as branching off to Outer Ring Road and heading to all the other roads as you use Outer Ring Highway. On that specific lane, no traffic at all, just past this roundabout. So clearly moving at a really fast pace. Again, what this means is that if you're coming from City Stadium, using Jogoo Road, heading over to Outer Ring Road, or even branching off, going all the way to Juja Road, or even Thika Super Highway, or even on the other side on Mombasa Road, then clearly is the best time for you to do that at about 3 minutes to 8 a.m. The best time for you to do that, because as of now, there's barely any traffic along this area. And also, as you branch off from this, where used to be the Donholm roundabout, again, as you head over to the city center, also on that specific lane, again, just a clear movement for you. Also, what this means is that if you're coming from Manyanja Road, if you're again coming from Mombasa Road, using the same route as you head over to the city center, again, also a smooth sailing for you, because there's barely any heavy traffic gridlock. In fact, there's no traffic at all, so you're just moving at a pretty fast pace as of now. But sticking with that road, yes, I had said that it's going to be a smooth sailing for you, but past the roundabout, just next to the Estates Enjoy, this is just next to Uchumi Supermarket along Jogoo Road. Again, this is after you branch off from Outer Ring Highway. Traffic beginning to build up there. So yes, it could be a smooth sailing for you, but you may have to do the traffic next to Uchumi Supermarket, and this is only specifically on the lane that is heading over to the city center. So what this means is that on the other side, it's clear movement for you only on that lane that is heading to the CBD. But again, it is what you'd expect to, see specifically on lanes that are heading over to the CBD in this early morning hour, because obviously people are heading over to their workstations, a number of activities as you head over to the city center. So what you're really seeing is just exactly what you'd expect to see, and that is also just what is being witnessed there. Nothing has changed for the past couple of minutes, so this road just looks quite the same. So it's just a smooth sailing for you after you leave the Donholm roundabout, but past that area next to Uchumi Supermarket, heading all the way to Mbotela to City Stadium, then you may just have to do the traffic there, because along this area there is no alternative route. That's why I'm saying you have to make do with that traffic. But as you branch off from there, heading to Likoni Road, again, this is also where there was another reconstruction of an overpass, which took 7 years before at least it commenced. And on that road, again, we'd expect to see gridlock, because again, that process is still ongoing even as of now. But this morning in terms of traffic, there's barely any heavy traffic gridlock there. So yes, there's traffic beginning to build up, but at least quite manageable. So again, also what this means is that if you're coming from Mombasa Road, then this is again one route that you can use as an alternative route. This is just Likoni Road as you head over to the city center. So past there, still sticking with Jogoo Road, heading over to the CBD, traffic building up, but at least past that place, it's quite manageable. So probably in the next link-up segment, we'll try to look for some alternative routes for those plying Jogoo Road, as well as Outer Ring Superhighway, since that has been our focus this Wednesday morning when it comes to matters traffic.
We really do apologize for that. Those are some of the realities of live television. However, time has come for us to lay focus on COVID-19 and how especially the curve is behaving. Concern has been raised that flattening the curve appears to be a challenge for the nation. But what point do we involve a citizen responsibility? What is your participation, for example, towards making sure that the flattening of the curve is achieved right here in the country? Now, that is not the only issue that we shall be looking into. Remember, concern has been raised over protective gear for frontline workers, and that conversation has been ongoing right here in the country for the better part of the previous 7 days. But right now, let me introduce to you my guest to discuss this and much more. In studio, I've got Dr. Christine Saidia. She is the public health specialist or the national chairperson she's a public health specialist and also the national chairperson of the Kenya Medical Women Association. Thank you so much, Dr. Christine, for joining us. Good morning.
Morning.
Right. Now, so far, what has been your assessment of this pandemic and the way we are reacting to it as a nation?
Your sound is a little bit low.
Right. How are we responding to this pandemic this far?
Well, so far we started off well. I think we managed to sustain the curve at a very low peak. That means, therefore, that the curve was not going to sharply rise, to give us time to prepare and also to give the education that was necessary for the populace. But at the same time, the health sector, which is, we started from a weak health system, so we needed to strengthen the health system. I think so far we did so well up to where we are now. We are seeing that the peak is coming, and it has been sustained from March when we started to almost now. Kenyans were also prepared that these numbers were going to rise, and I think so far so good. We have tried, and though there are a few challenges that may be mitigated, but so far so good.
What are some of these challenges you believe should be mitigated?
Well, there are quite a bit of the challenges. The challenges we are facing are from two fronts. The populace that had been prepared to take certain responsibility. For example, the infection prevention control measures of self-distancing, washing of hands, and wearing of masks. I think we are seeing certain challenges in that front, in the sense that not everybody is conforming. Initially, when we started, everybody seems to have been at indoors, but then that was not sustained for a long time, because it is both a pandemic that interferes with the economic situation. Therefore, people cannot continually be indoors. But on that front now, we are seeing quite a bit of challenges, that some of the measures are not being kept by the public, and the perception that the public has, some still believe that we don't have COVID in the country, or if it is there, it is an elitist kind of, it is for another sector and not for individuals. So the behavior change has not been internalized by all that we have COVID. So I think that is a challenge from that front. From the health system, the numbers are rising right now, and therefore, in terms of maybe testing, we could say that the testing is one that is proving to be a little bit of a challenge, because the numbers are now many, and we don't expect to test each and every person with a community transmission. Therefore, that needs a bit of strengthening, but so far the system is trying to cope, but with the targeted testing. But I think that bit can be improved if the capacity can be enhanced. So those are the challenges that I can highlight.
From a public health point of view, of course, you say community transmissions are on the rise, and this poses a direct threat and challenge to testing. How are we able to mitigate this particular challenge and make sure that it doesn't overwhelm the efforts government is making to contain COVID-19?
I think we may have to look at our testing strategy. the testing strategy that will give us the yield, that the good yield, that we don't test everybody, and resources are also limited, because you can't test everybody in the population, but you can do targeted testing. But also we may have to look at a syndromic management where case or suspected cases are prioritized, or places where transmission is higher or hotspots are prioritized and tested. But in the meantime, therefore, then the populace must also begin to enhance the prevention control measures that have already been put in place to reduce the transmission curve. At the same time, while that is happening, we could also maybe do with a few strategies that are looking at, while we are looking at the syndromic management, we know that there are certain hotspots, like, for example, health facilities where people go. I think then that could give us a pool of people that need to be tested, and how to manage the separation or quarantining of a few exposed or most of the exposed healthcare workers, so that the transmission is not in those care facilities. I think it's something that we need to do a relook at. So thank you.
All right, I like the fact that you mentioned the whole element of targeted testing, because that has become the priority of government so far. What do you feel, or what do you believe should be its priorities that should be guiding targeted testing on COVID?
I think it should be guided by the epidemiological profile of the pandemic. Because if you know that you are getting a pool, but also that must be coupled by a very rigorous surveillance system. So I think the surveillance and trying to isolate those who are exposed then will be giving us a good sense of where the pool of the infections are. I think we are also getting a little bit of challenge with the overwhelming of the community transmission in the hotspots. Like, for example, Nairobi, it then becomes impossible sometimes to do a contact tracing, because in the heart of the epidemic, what is critical is surveillance, that you mop up everybody that has been exposed, you isolate them or you quarantine them. Those who are been found to be positive are then isolated. But I think in that front, we are receiving a bit of a challenge, and that could also be the one that could be giving us the pointers to where the targeted testings need to take place and the pool. And we also need maybe to do a profiling of who then gets into the pool. We can use the data that we have right now to give us a pointer of who gets into the infection pool more than the others. And therefore, we could prioritize that either cohort of that community or attributes that give the characteristics that give us who then is likely to be in the pool. I think those are some of the tightening that perhaps we need to do right now as we move forward.
Now, you see, for us to curb community transmissions, then citizen responsibility is very much important. But concern has been raised that this has become rather, lackluster amongst citizens. What exactly can we do to boost citizen responsibility in an effort to curb community transmissions?
I think we need to up our game in risk communication strategy and mitigation measures that will translate into personalizing the information to individuals, so that they see the risk attributed to themselves. They don't see it like it's somebody else's disease. So I think maybe a communication approach and intensifying communication, risk communication is one that, risk and behavior change communication is that one that we may have to put a lot of effort. Behavior change does not come overnight, but if it is done such that the risk mitigation communication or medical communication, there is something that is called from the medical side, prevention measures, that is a medically, the communication is done such that it gives you your risk profile, and it raises your awareness to the risks that you have yourself, and you internalize that risk. That may boost your responsiveness in terms of the prevention measures that you need to take. So I guess that is also another front that we may have to intensify, that the risk communication translate into individuals personalizing the message and taking responsibility for their risk that are attributed to themselves.
Okay, let me draw your attention to the last two briefings that we've got from the Ministry of Health. The first one on Monday, where concern was raised over the fact that this is the cold season. There could be a rise on respiratory infections and diseases that could be a trigger for COVID-19. How do people at home make sure that they avoid this particular, or how do we work around the realities around this time?
I think it may not be easy to work around it, but it also may, the realization that we could be dealing with much more of the flu season, and that mimics COVID, because the symptoms are basically the same. And therefore, the fact that you should be given that when you reach certain parameters, you should not be complacent and think that it is a cold season and it is a normal flu. You need maybe therefore to begin to look for when you have certain attributes. We have given the symptoms out of COVID, how it mimics. You may be having a fever, that could be for flu as well, but you may also have, the COVID has specific issues, like for example, if you have a dry cough, and if you have persistent headache, and if you begin to find your chest tightening, then that is a pointer that you need to quickly seek for medical intervention so that the testing is done and we rule out whether it is COVID or it's just a normal seasonal flu. So I guess those are some of the information that the public needs to have. At what point do you attribute your risk and you think that now the thin line between COVID and a common cold or a common flu, and you need to seek medical intervention so that a testing is done and that is differentiated, and then you don't go down the route of seeking hospitalization for COVID, because when COVID is gotten at an early stage, you could be at home, you could be supported from home, and you could then therefore survive without being in a hospital care, requiring oxygen and requiring a ventilation as well.
What of disposal of masks? Because that was yet another concern that was raised yesterday. How do we properly handle this challenge?
The masks that are cloth masks are easy to deal with because people can be told on how to put them in. You can clean them in a special way. You can clean them with soap. You can clean them with either you put a bit of something like jig on it, and then you decontaminate. But the one that is surgical mask, which is necessary for even home-based isolation for those who are been found to be positive, I think at the home care level then will be a challenge, and it is something that we need to kind of come with a strategy of disposal. One, it is now becoming, because it is a hospital waste, as it were, because the home-based isolation is a hospital intervention that has been taken home. Therefore, if you use the surgical mask, or whoever that is using surgical mask or any other mask, N95, then the disposal of that mask therefore becomes very critical, because it could be a source of transmission if it is not disposed correctly. So you are very right that concern is valid. People need to know how then they remove it correctly and they put it in a safe place. But I wonder what we perhaps need to do is not to have it get into our bins, our usual disposal system, but maybe a biohazardous system. Maybe we could code them so that we find a way of how the hospital waste is collected and then incinerated. I do not think that we have done that yet, and that is something that perhaps we need to pay attention to.
You see also the other concern, Dr. is the fact that not every Kenyan can afford a fresh mask every day. So the probability of recycling is very high. That poses a challenge. How do we mitigate it?
Well, recycling of a mask, yes, it is a risk, and that's why I think there is these two sides of the coin. That the cloth mask was provided. It is easier and it is very protective if you are not in the care facility, like if you are not a medical person working in a healthcare setting. And for those who are coming from home isolation, I think that is something that must be provided as part of the package. And if you look at the criteria for selecting those who are going for home isolation and care, you find that surgical mask is one of the lists that somebody must possess, or ability to have a surgical mask has already been prescribed in that criteria for selecting those who qualify for home-based isolation and care. So I guess it will be a challenge if that prioritization hasn't been done and somebody is isolating themselves and they do not have adequate mask. Therefore, the risk of infecting the other members of the household, if they are not on their own, then becomes a real risk, or a caregiver giving them food or handling or coming closer to them, not keeping the distance, and the hygiene issues at home, the social distancing, the washing, the hand washing frequently, and then I think that then becomes a real risk. And I think that is something that perhaps in the wisdom of the people who have done the guidelines, it is there, but whether the ability to have it at all places where people are being isolated at home, that therefore needs to be assessed, and I think is a challenge if it is not developed.
Let's talk about home-based care. And owing to our urban planning and housing challenges, how exactly do families handle a COVID-positive patient who's been referred to or who's been put on home care?
Successfully, going by what Mombasa has done, it has been successful in Mombasa. They check the home, and that's why the guidelines there. I think it is in the wisdom of the guidelines that somebody who is in case management, and there will be a team that will be assessing the home where you are going for isolation. And if that is done, I think it has provided that maybe there must be a separate room for the person to be isolated. And therefore, if you only qualify for home-based isolation and care, if your infrastructure has been assessed and it can sustain it can sustain you in the isolation in the number of days that is required. However, it will come with other costs, because maybe the water, the issue of water, you need to have a thermometer. So whether these are being provided, I don't think so. But if you have, it is being said that you must have the ability to have a thermometer. So it has already been prescribed in the guidelines. I think it is maybe intensifying the implementation of that guideline and making it practical to Kenyans. And that guidelines actually has taken into consideration that if your infrastructure is not adequate for your care, then you are not a candidate for home-based care and isolation.
But you see, also stigma is a reality. If your family member or close relative is tested positive of COVID-19, the possibility of having loved ones around you is going to be very hard. So how do we manage that?
Well, the stigma that comes with COVID is real, but if awareness is raised, or if a caregiver is rightfully identified as the guidelines are saying, and if they are properly trained on what they need to do, the risk is very minimal. If they have they have the mask and the barrier is being kept, the distance is being kept, there's enough water at the home for cleaning, and the other person has a place for their room where they can wash, I guess that risk then is minimized. You could be with your loved ones in the same roof, but maybe in separate compartments. So that is there. However, I think with the numbers that we are seeing, maybe that would be, we may find ourselves that maybe that is not strictly adhered to, and therefore we may find a few individuals at home with loved ones with no that infrastructure assessment properly done. And if that is the case, therefore, I think what we need to invest in is the community health volunteers and workers being very well trained, so that they can support families. But the caregiver at the home and your loved ones at home, must then be given enough education and information to help them keep safe and to help you also go through your COVID condition. And I think we just need to destigmatize the issue of COVID. We went through HIV and AIDS, and now we are caring for people at home. I guess COVID is following the same trajectory. However, COVID has come with a lot of stigma because of the way perhaps that it was initially handled. That is the same way HIV came with stigma, the way it was handled. It was more or less mirroring the same way the trajectory of HIV in its early 80s, 84. So I guess it is something that with the education and awareness and people coming out to say, yes, I have survived with my family, and this is what has happened. And most of the families that have given their loved ones with COVID good time and care, and as they have come out without infection, I think needs to be a practice that we need to loud and send out more so that it destigmatize the issue of COVID-19.
Well, let's now talk about immunization. I mean, not immunization, but immunity, whereby there are schools of thought that argue you cannot boost immunity. It is a question of genetics. There are others who argue that you can indeed boost your immunity. From your expert point of view, which school of thought do you lean towards and why?
I think immunity can be boosted. Immunity can be boosted in the sense that whether they are not long-lasting immunity, but if you find that immunity is going down, there are things like healthy foods that you can take to boost your immunity. There are also medication, the supplements that you can take to boost your immunity. However, I do not, unless somebody has a condition or a genetic makeup that naturally they are immune suppressed, then in that case, then the immunity is low. They can be managed the way they are by maybe supportive care. But I'm from the school of thought that immunity goes down. Immunity depends on your makeup of your blood cells, the way they are nourished, the way you keep up, the way you pump your system. So I guess it is something. I don't want to be in the school of thought that things is a fait accompli. I think there's something that can be done for immunity to be boosted so that you are supported to live. Because even for those that have been immunosuppressed in HIV, that have been run completely down, when you give them the medication, you lower the viral load and you give them good feeding and with supplementation, you find that they come up. So immunity is boosted. So I guess that immunity can be supported, can be supportive, boosted. And I think that is, we need to have hope that we need not to go to the other extreme end where we think that there's nothing that can be done.
Well, you see, let's talk about one of the ways that floated out there, and that's a concoction made of lemon, ginger, and garlic, and probably turmeric and cinnamon that would go a long way to help you, stay away from COVID-19. How true is this?
I guess it is not stay away from COVID-19. It is ameliorating your flu symptoms, because those are concoctions that have been known to help when you have a flu, a seasonal flu, or when you are down with a cough or a cold. So I guess it is being the same, because this is a situation where you have a flu, your throat maybe is dry, you need to hydrate. So it is a good concoction to help you hydrate. However, COVID also, the virus, it thrives in lower pH. That means if you take things like lemon, you take things like ginger with a higher pH, then the likelihood of the replication maybe is lower. But I think there's no scientific basis to say that is helping. I think it is helping more of the symptoms than helping the virus replication itself. That is the school of thought that I would like to entertain for now, until the science proven that concoction actually reduces the multiplication of the virus.
So it's more preventive than anything else.
It is supportive, yes. It is supportive in terms of that it helps you with your symptoms to go through the day, because once the symptoms you pass through a certain threshold, the shedding will happen, but it helps you to manage your symptom. Like if you the normal cold that we've survived with ginger, garlic for many years. When you have a cold season and you have a flu, it is a common commodity in our household, and therefore dawa. If you go to a pub, you have a flu, you go to one of the outlets, you request for dawa, and you find that your chest, you ease your chest, you cough easily, your mucus come out, and if you had a terrible tightness, a little bit of a tightness, you ease out. So I guess there are those supportive treatments, but I have not come across any evidence to show that it is related to COVID, the virus, the issues to do with the virus, the coronavirus itself.
Fair enough. Now let's move on to another angle, and we've witnessed a surge in workers that we're losing to COVID-19. That's the question: how do we harness preparedness and protection for our frontline workers?
Well, that is a challenge. We are seeing so many of our frontline workers getting into the pool, and that was already anticipated, because if we looked at the trajectory of what had happened in China, what happened particularly in Europe, we found a number of healthcare workers who had been lost. But with good protective gear, PPEs, and which is rationalized, and also re-engineering of the workplaces, I think that should be minimized. However, with the numbers that are coming in and with the community transmission, you remember the healthcare providers are still providing care for other illnesses, for the other basic essential conditions. They still are treating malaria people, they are still seeing pregnant women, people are still walking to accident places, and therefore you could come across somebody who innocently has come in, no symptoms of COVID, they are asymptomatic, and if you do not have proper gear, then you may find that you get infection through that source. Also, you could be getting infection through close proximity from workers who, if they have not been identified quite early. So the testing amongst the targeted people that needs to be targeted for testing is healthcare workers, and then maybe perhaps the rostering needs to be done such that there will be a shift, so that you can quickly isolate the shift that is affected. However, we must say that we already have shortages of healthcare workers before even COVID strike. So I think there's a very thin balance, and the managers of care institutions must be struggling to see how then that balance can be maintained. So I think the best strategy is to ensure that proper quality and adequate PPEs are provided at the very critical areas. We know the levels of PPE that is required at every level of care. If you are in outpatient, what is appropriate? And it is appropriate not only for healthcare workers, but even staff that are working and are supporting the health system needs to be protected.
All right, Dr. Christine, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your insight. And as far as COVID-19 is concerned, I'm very sure we'll keep interacting in the course of the show to just get your insight on coverage of COVID-19.
Thank you.
Right, have a nice day. Now, that has been Dr. Christine Saidia, a public health specialist, talking about COVID-19 in the country. The curve so far, it keeps rising and rising, and also some of the challenges that we are facing as a nation when it comes to combating COVID-19. The discussion only takes a pause, because we shall be having more of this in the course of time as we continue curbing the spread of coronavirus right here in the country. My name is Samuel Njoroge. I'm now handing you over to my colleague Jane Wamboi.
right, thank you for keeping it Good Morning Kenya. We want to continue with our discussions for the day. Remember, today is Wednesday and we always get to focus on lifestyle issues. And today we have two in line for you. But to start with, we want to talk about yoga. Now, it is said that yoga can work every muscle in your body. And from the discussion that Sam just had before that quick break, they were talking about boosting your immunity. And just looking at the quick facts about yoga, it is said that it also boosts your immunity. And especially now during this time that we are in, during this pandemic, our immunity needs to be A-OK. And it is said that yoga can actually help build that. So we want to have a quick conversation about yoga and meditation. And of course, we welcome you to be part of this discussion. We want to hear from you. Any questions, comments, clarifications, as simple, as basic, or as complicated as they may be, we are here to help you better understand some of this conversation, and especially to do with yoga today. So how can you get to us? On Twitter, the hashtag to use is Good Morning Kenya. My handle is @JenWamboy across all social media platforms, and our official station handle is @KBC Channel 1. That is on Twitter, and on Facebook @KBC Television is how you can find us. So questions, comments, clarifications, shoot them through. We will be looking at them in not too long. But to help us with this conversation about yoga and wellness and meditation, we have with us in studio this morning Sonia Birdie, who is a certified yoga and meditation instructor, to help us understand this whole conversation around yoga this morning. Thank you so much for joining us, Sonia.
Good morning, and thank you for having me, Jane.
Give us your social media handles so that our viewers can also get in touch with you.
It's Yoga with Honorable Sonia Birdie and Yoga on Demand.
All right, Yoga on Demand, I like that. So let's just start with the basics as we build this conversation about yoga. And let's just start with the definition of yoga, because, you know, for a layman out there, even for me, you know, yoga, we just think of sitting down, looking pretty, and just sitting there. But we don't really understand what yoga entails. So let's start from there. What does yoga really encapsulate?
Yoga basically is traditional means union of the mind and the body.
Okay.
So whereas yoga is physical exercise of the body, meditation is the exercise of the mind. When you unite the both, you get yoga. You're basically running on a treadmill in your mind, and you're running on a treadmill with your body. Your treadmill is this mat here.
Physically.
Yes. Now the thing is, people get confused as how can you be fit in only this distance?
Yeah.
When people like Eliud Kipchoge run 30 kilometers, run 50 kilometers,
Yes.
run how long every day, and they are fit. But the question is, it's your mind and your body, and this is where the fitness happens.
So there's a difference between yoga and meditation, because we tend to think they are one and the same. Yoga is for the body, meditation is for the mind.
Let me put it very simply. If your software, which is your mind, is corrupted, your hardware is kaput. Therefore, your hardware is not going to work. Whether you're a man, a woman, a child, any ethnicity, any whatever background, however money you have, however much money or resources you have, if your body is not in sync with your mind, you're absolute of no use to yourself or your family or your community or your country. Therefore, practicing yoga, and I started practicing from 2015, is very important, because it's a good skill to have. It doesn't give you the answers straight away, but it's good to know yoga. Because at the end of the day, when by the time you reach to the doctor and the doctor says, have you tried yoga? And you say, no, I haven't tried. Well, here's your opportunity to get to know about yoga. And the reason why I'm here today is to let everybody know, everybody who is watching this program right now, across the board, I know it's a difficult time that we're going through right now. But knowing some form of fitness is going to be very beneficial for you. But this is what I have observed, that people who have been practicing yoga, myself included, are actually having great challenges, experiencing great challenges through the time that we're going right now. So how can we overcome it? Yes, as WHO, World Health Organization, told us, practice some form of fitness, keep moving, There we are. So why are people not understanding yoga? Because yoga is a slow process.
Okay.
It's not a straight away, it's not the way that you get to a feeling right after running.
Or a workout at the gym.
Or workout at the gym.
Yeah.
But because that is traditionally what we know. And today, if I tell you that even my brothers and sisters sitting in India have found it difficult to cope with COVID, because even people in India have lost touch with yoga. But here's the thing, as leaders, as people who care about our people, we have to tell them what works. And I can tell you for guarantee, yoga does work. And it happens on this mat. This is why we have this mat in this dimension, because you might be a very tall person, you might be a bit heavier, so you have mats that are thick as well. But you can fold this mat 2 times so that when you're on your knees, you don't feel the pressure on your bones. So that's just basically it, folks. Yoga is a physical exercise, and meditation is the software that goes with it. Put the two together and you have an awesome package.
So it is true when they say that, you know, yoga and meditation is exercise for that you work out your entire body.
That's right.
All right. Now, you have mentioned you have been doing yoga since 2015. And over the years, maybe we just want to hear from you first. And what are some of those benefits that personally you can attest to the fact that you have actually, that have come as a result of doing yoga?
The first immediate effect is relaxation. You're able to balance out your hormones.
Yeah.
And you're able to balance out the pressure that you might be feeling in your life. So that's the straight away your benefit, equalizing your sleeping pattern. I have clients who tell me I've started sleeping better again, and making the pattern consistent. So that's one of the straight benefits that you get straight away.
Okay. Now, let's talk a bit about, you know, some misconceptions that surround yoga and meditation. Now, for most people, you would think that yoga is for those who are flexible. If I'm big, I might not be able to do yoga. If I'm not fit, yoga is not for me. But when it comes to yoga, does fitness really matter, or the size of your body?
Nothing will stop you from practicing yoga if you have your mind set to it. Simply because when I'm going to give you the dialogue about practicing yoga, taking your left foot forward, taking your right foot at the back, your mind, your brain will register and give the signal to the body, take your right foot to the back. And as you practice daily, this practice, it's a routine, then your body is going to slowly fall into flexibility. If you're overweight, this yoga helps reduce your weight. If you have thyroid problems, yoga helps reduce your thyroid problems, because there are certain postures which focus on compression of the thyroid muscles, which is in the neck. So back problems, lower back problems, you have postures for that. And there are so many other various exercises that look into the well-being of that particular part of your body. Therefore, it cuts across the board. And let me be very straightforward and simple for you. One of the things that as people, human beings, we really fail to understand is looking underneath our feet. We don't take care of our feet. We go for reflexology, we go for pressing points and this and the other, but we don't do anything ourselves. So yoga teaches you cost-effective, the most cost-effective way at this point in time for your wellness is to get a mat. And if you don't have a mat, just start on the floor, but I know you will end up getting a mat, because at the end of the day, when your body is on the floor, you want to avoid contact with, you know, just foreign bodies on the floor. You just need to have your mat there, because it also works as a way in which you can focus in the area that you're working in.
Okay. And for those who have had previous injuries, they might also be, not sure as to when and whether they can start practicing yoga. When it comes to consulting before you start yoga, how vital is that? Talking to a certified trainer, as you said, you are a certified yoga and meditation instructor. So if you have had previous injuries, especially to heavy bones, when it comes to wanting to start yoga, consultation, the vitality of that.
See, one of the first things that you're going to be asked to do if you have had a muscle injury is to take a break so that your muscle can rebuild itself, can recuperate. So yoga is also not a restorative exercise. Okay? And because you're not beating yourself down, what do I mean by it's not a high impact exercise? It's a low impact exercise, slow. Then you take your time, you give your body room to be able to work and get into that posture. I'll give you a very good example. I have been training in the gym for as long as I could remember. It reached a point where my weight could not go down any further, even though I tried dieting. But what happens is when I started practicing yoga, and then, of course, I have to introduce it into a modern way by putting heat into it and calling it hot yoga, which gives you it gives you a straight feeling of your muscles relaxing straight away. Then you get the complete benefits of practicing yoga with consistency into your life and of those of your family as well.
Okay. Now, when it comes to doing yoga, does it have to hurt to know that you are being efficient?
Well, when we're doing our postures, we always say, when I'm going to show you some of these postures, we always say that if you're sitting on your heels, if your hips are on your heels, and any posture that you're doing, if you have a very sharp pain, then you stop. You don't go further. You only do what your body can handle that day. And the day after that, you will notice some people have come to me, and we're doing a 6-week program. And after 6 weeks, they see the flexibility that some things that their body can do straight away. And something very straightforward. If you're washing dishes and you feel a pain on your waist, okay? That is lack of flexibility. You also need to lose some weight. You also need to be a bit more flexible. When you're doing tasks like this and your body is hurting, lifting your children, lifting boxes, lifting all these things, doing gardening, it hurts. Well, you need to be a bit more mobile, and you just need to be a bit kind to yourself.
Yes. Stop what you're doing, adjust if you have to.
Exactly.
Now, for those who might be wanting to start yoga, but they do not know where to start from. Number one, we've talked about, just getting an instructor to just help you know how to go about it. But when it comes to gear and what to wear, what is right, what is not right, you have talked heavily about the mat. Let's start there, the yoga mat. How important is it when you are starting to practice yoga?
You need this mat because it's got a soft padding to it. It's also at least 0.6 mm thick. So when your
That is the basic one?
That's the basic one.
Okay.
When your knees are on the ground and it's too hard for you, it's really pinching you, you want to fold it like this. And then put your knees on the mat.
Okay.
That's the very first thing. Secondly, for yoga, you don't need shoes and you don't need socks. All you need is yourself. Put your bare feet on this mat and really feel the base of your feet, all the muscles of your feet. There's some postures where I even tell you, spread your toes, press your toes on the mat. What are you doing? You're engaging each and every muscle, each and every bone of your foot to try and get into that exercise. It's as simple as that. When we're bending over down and we're pressing on the mat, we're using each and every bone and muscle of our body to press on the mat with your body. And make sure you're pulling yourself and extending and compressing in any way possible. Simple as that. That's your attire. Put on your shorts, put on a t-shirt, that's it.
All right, and now we want to take a very quick commercial break, but when we get back, we'll now be getting to the actual, some of those yoga poses that you can start practicing from your home right now with us here on Good Morning Kenya. So do stay with us. We will be right back after this break.
When we moved from analog to digital, we took the opportunity to share our talanta. And the rise of local radio represented our voices mtaani. And now, in these difficult times, free educational shows are helping our children learn from home.
Mawasiliano kwetu, nguvu kwako. Communications Authority of Kenya. Opening your world. Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
What's wrong?
Where do I start?
The beginning is always nice.
Didn't you listen to what I said?
Everyone
I've been okay so far, on my own.
It's my fault. Wanjala ni mwerevu, lakini wewe, pole mzito, pole mzito.
Nimba.
Hakuna.
It's definitely not nothing.
Hamjambo wa Kenya wenzangu. Mimi ni Mheshimiwa Mize. Ninalotaka kuambia ni kuwasihi ya kwamba corona iko. Na ili tupigane nayo na tuishinde. Ukikohoa, tafadhali kama una ile ya kujifunika ile tissue, weka mkono hapa. Kama ni chafya yako acho na itabakia pale pale. Kama ni kukohoa yako koholea hapo. Na nakwambia tukizingatia sheria na tuitii, hii corona tutaishinda na nchi yetu tutarudi kama kawaida.
Gear up and maintain a healthy, fit and active lifestyle right there at home by keeping up with Gear Up on Channel 1, 5:30 to 6 a.m. Monday to Saturday. Gear up every day for every moment, and remember to stay home and keep safe.
I just can't get it right, can't get it right. It doesn't go away, doesn't go away. Even though I try to ignore it.
Kwa watu ambao tunaoishi na wao katika nchi moja, katika tauni moja, hata kama sio Waislamu, maadamu hawajatupiga vita sisi, wala hawajatukana ule Uislamu, yafaa sisi tuwafanyie wema.
I know you've been guiding me. You're the one who knows my destiny. I'll be alright. I'm sure that you look after me. You know what's inside of me. And the salam.
Thank you for keeping it Good Morning Kenya. Remember, we are talking about yoga and wellness and how you can start doing yoga during this time you are at home, you're spending so much time at home, you don't have much to do, yoga is one of those things that you can take up and it will benefit you. That is the discussion we are having this morning, and we have with us Sonia Birdie with us in studio. She is a certified yoga and meditation instructor. Now, before we get to the actual yoga session, just for those who have, shoulder pain, back pain, how can they start doing yoga? And for those who actually have it, how do they avoid further and, making it worse? Sonia.
Thank you, Jane. Allow me to demonstrate perhaps on the mat. One of the most simplest thing that you can do on this mat is to lie on the mat. Now I'm going to say a few things which look exactly very simple, but they're not very simple. As you lie down like this on your mat, your body is flat on the floor. Every part of your muscle, every part of your structure in your body is lying flat, straight. You're giving your body some time, some room just to relax. Your muscles feel at one with the floor. Savasana, this is called dead man's pose.
The dead man's pose.
Dead man's pose. You will feel your lower spine, your middle spine, your upper spine, your shoulders flat on the ground. And you can just move your shoulders slightly just to see exactly what you're feeling today. This is why I'm saying it's very important to have a mat. Right. Let's go to a few poses for back pain. We'll go for bridge pose, where you bring your feet flat on the ground and bring your hands, palms flat on the ground. Now you can see why it's so important to have a mat. And as you inhale, you lift your hips up towards the ceiling, using your glute muscles to push your hips up. Your knees are in line with your feet. They're not out. They're not going anywhere. Now, you can even bring your hands underneath your body. Okay? Interlacing your fingers, really pushing your hips up. And exhale, bring your hips down. As you can see, this is called the bridge pose. The bridge pose is supposed to help the lower back muscles. So once again, what you do, you inhale.
As you go up.
Hold. Exhale as you come down.
Okay.
Inhale, you go up. Exhale, you come down.
That is supposed to help with back pain.
Lower back pain. This is you want to release the pressure on your lower spine. As you're lying down here, you curl your spine and your whole spine is flat on the floor. Okay, that was dead man's pose. Dead body pose. Now here's the other one.
This one is still for back pain and shoulder pain?
I'm just about to tell you.
All right.
Before we go into shoulder pain, because everything has a sequence, and I can't go straight into shoulder pain because I'm going to do a shoulder stand right after a few minutes. So from dead man's pose, you will go on to child's pose. The toes, your big toes are touching together. Now I have noticed that many people cannot even sit like this because the top of the feet are very, very tight. And maybe even your hips, you can't sit on your heels because it's very tight. And you can't even open your knees like this. But you try. Then you bend forward. Let your hands walk straight up. Your nose on the mat. Take a few breaths here and really feel the muscles on your shoulder open and stretch. Feel the shoulder stretch on your back and your lower back, the muscles just relaxing as you have your nose on the mat. And as you're doing that, when your nose is on the mat, your mind should be also thinking about the practice. So you're not thinking about what to cook, who you're going to see, who you're going to call, all that nonsense.
You need to free your mind.
You're just thinking about the exercise.
Okay.
And what you're going to achieve. Okay? And as you do that, next, you come on your fours. shoulders over your elbows. Now I see a lot of people having problems with their elbows. It really hurts. It is going to hurt because you're not able to, rejuvenate the muscles around your elbows area. All right, as you come over like this, some distance between your knees and your equal distance between your toes, look straight, and you extend opposite leg, opposite hand, and look straight and think from your belly. Now your mind is thinking about your belly because your belly is the core of the human body. And as you can see, my toes are pointing to the other direction, my hands to the other. I'm really using my body strength to pull onto the opposite directions. Straight line from my toes to my fingers. Then, as you go to the next pose, downward facing dog, curl your toes, lift your hips, and push your hip head towards your thighs, your chest, towards your thighs. This is where you press your hands, press your fingers on the ground. Very important for you, those people at home, to notice. When you put your hands on the ground, your fingers will come off if you're not pressing them down. But if you really press your fingers down, you won't be able to get your fingers off the ground. That's the pressure I'm talking about. Use all your fingers, your whole palm, to press onto the mat. The back of your feet, where you have your Achilles tendon right here, you give it room now to stretch. All my athlete friends watching me right now, this is for you. This is where you need the pressure behind your Achilles tendon to get off, to reduce. As you walk on your knees, we call this walking on our knees. Breathe through your nose all the time. You can even do this, just feel what your body is feeling. And for the next pose, just lift your right leg up to the ceiling and really feel this stretch on your belly, because now you're really stretching. Bend your leg. And most people stay here, beginners can stay here, and advanced people flip over. And this is called flipping your dog. Flipping your dog. Lift your hips up towards the ceiling and just stretch. Look up towards your hand. Now you can either have your feet flat on the floor or you can go on your toes. And people can further go. The next posture is wheel posture. And then straight away, you can come to high plank. Now everybody knows high plank. We do this in the gym. Now for beginners, please bring your knees on the mat. High plank, we're going to low plank. And we're going to squeeze the muscles behind our shoulders and come down. As you notice, my elbows are close to my body, not there. If your elbows are close to your body, you're doing the right thing. And you go for downward facing dog. Get your thighs off the mat. If you can't, it's okay. Keep your thighs on the mat. Breathe. Curl your toes. And then lift your hips up to the ceiling. Now, through all these postures, you're breathing through your nose. When you start breathing through your mouth, you're actually initiating a fright or flight response. You don't want that. You walk again on your knees. And as a routine, we have Surya Namaskar, which is sun salutation. And it's very simple. As a beginner, first you walk your hands towards your feet towards your hands, and you rise. Look up. Have a slight back bend. Hold it. Shine your hands against each other. And I've noticed many people cannot trust their body to bend backwards and let it go. Just let it go. Notice what I'm telling you. Just let it go. And fold forward. Bring your hands behind your feet. Now, this is where you try and sandwich yourself. Sandwich your chest to your thighs. Bring the front of your head to touch. Your feet from the side. You can have your legs straight or bent. You take it as you can. You do what you can today. As you come up slowly, you sit down for chair pose. I love this posture because this really works your glutes area. This is why we have yoga on demand, because these days we're so busy, we don't have time to do things that matter to our body. Now, endurance, you sit down, then bring your hands to your chest and twist. This is a spine twist, making sure your hands are at your heart center. You look up, and where your eyes go, your body will follow. Bring your hands again into the middle, and then you go to the left. Because the rule of yoga is what you do on the left, you do on the right. And you release. Bring your hands down and come up slowly. These exercises and postures go on for 45 minutes to 1 hour. People practice this as long as they want to, either once a day or twice a day, as long as the need arises. Next, sit down. Cobbler position. Bring the base of your feet together. Now notice you have a straight spine. Bring both of your hands in front of your toes. Interlace your fingers. Look straight and smile and breathe. As you inhale, just flap your thighs like butterfly wings. Now what are you doing? You're stretching the muscles on your glute area, your outside your thighs. And today your knees might not be going down here, maybe just reaching up here, but it's okay. Today, if they go just wherever they are, you just let them be. Because yoga is a process. It's your body process. You take care of it. Nobody else can take care of it. If you are taking care of your family, now notice I'm talking and I'm doing the exercise, and I'm also telling you this. You can also do the same thing. Just sit and practice yoga. At the same time, you're giving yourself some exercise. Right.
All right, Sonia, allow me to just interject a bit. Due to the interest of time, we also don't want to leave out our parents and the elderly folk when it comes to practicing yoga. They are at home and they have the time. How can they also safely engage in yoga practices that are safe for them, and also those who may be having very sensitive injuries?
Okay.
You could show us a bit of that.
Yes. So I have worked out a chair yoga routine, which has been going around to members of my community and my friends and family, to people who have really been struggling with movement and mobility. Why? Because we have been forced to stay at home. So I'm going to show you some chair yoga. But I know you talked about back pain and shoulder pain. Can I just do the shoulder pain before I go, the shoulder stand before I go to the chair?
Yes,
just
very quickly.
30 seconds. So I'm not going to talk because it's going to compress my throat. I'm going to try and talk. Head on the floor, waterfall, toes towards your nose, flex your feet. With your hands, lift your waist. Compression of the throat, toes pointing up. Breathe naturally.
So the toes need to be pointing up. Yes. Compression will be on the shoulders. And remember to breathe through your nose at this point. Remember, breathing through your mouth will trigger a fright or flight response, which is a natural response for the body. So for this case, just make sure to breathe with your nose, toes pointing up, and pressure will be on the shoulder to at least relieve the pain.
Simple as that.
All right.
That relieves the pain of the shoulders. Let's go on to chair yoga.
Chair
Hello.
yoga for those with mobility issues.
I would have never thought that I would have done chair yoga, but this is something I had to develop for all our friends and people at home. So what we do, because I needed to go to the back, I hope that's fine. What you simply do, this chair has armrests. If you don't have armrests, it's okay, put your arms by the side. Make sure your spine is straight. Start by lifting your left leg and using your muscles on your belly. Think through your belly. I know it's very difficult to think through your belly. But what it means is use your mind, instruct your mind and say, I'm using the muscles from my core. Mm-hmm. Lifting your right leg, lifting your left leg.
And maybe you could tell our viewers what the core is.
Our core is exactly here.
Mm-hmm.
The section where you were born attached to your mother.
That is the core.
That is your core, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you have to think about. Okay? Lift both of your legs up and down. Lift both of your legs up and down. And from there, we also have sun salutation. But I'm going to do the more simpler ones for our people to understand. Mm-hmm. Lift your left leg up and bring it down slowly. Think of your belly. Think of your core. Think of all the muscles on your body. Think about these muscles. Right? Leg raises. Mm-hmm. And also for the knees. People who have problems with the knees, hold on to the chair. Come and go up. Now remember, inhale.
With your nose.
Exhale.
As you go up.
Inhale. Exhale. At home, if you have parents who cannot move around, help them to do this. Sit them on a chair. And you're going to be doing a natural physio for them straight away. Dancer's pose. For those of us who are looking for balance, you can actually hold the chair. Let me do it the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
And hold the chair. Look for support. So that it helps you doing this yoga pose. If not, and you're feeling very courageous, I have found people, when they first come to class, their knees are wobbly, they can't balance, there is no endurance. What do you need? You need to focus. You need to focus on what exactly your body is doing, where exactly your mind is going, and how you're going to achieve your wellness. Mm-hmm. This is usually a long posture. Feel the stretch on the front of your chest. And repeat the process on the left-hand side. This is called dancer's pose.
What you do on the right, you
do on the left.
Mm.
And in today's time, my dear, what is important is yoga on demand. Because what I've realized is we give you your wellness when you wish. There's one posture I must demonstrate, and that's called the Malasana. It's basically a squat. What I need you to understand at this point in time is we are all going through a certain stress. You're going through a certain stress. You feel not settled. You feel you want to run away. You want to leave everything. You want to perhaps just run away from home, but your problems are not going to go away. You need to ground yourself. How do you ground yourself? You practice this posture called the Malasana. Feet apart. Come into a squat. Bring your hands into the heart center. And you go down with a straight back. Bring your elbows out onto your knees. And you just squat. Now this is also very good for your digestive. People who are suffering from constipation. Guys, this is for you. People who are looking to be grounded and focus on the problem on hand. Guys, this is for you. As you're doing Malasana, please visualize the base of your spine pointing down towards the ground and the top of your head pointing up to the universe. And you come up slowly. Hands by your side. Now think about how tough and tight and strong your thighs are going to be and your whole body after you practice yoga every day.
That was such a revitalizing session. Now, before we get to close this discussion, we cannot forget our expectant mothers, those who might want to practice yoga. They want to just do some form of light exercise, but they don't know how to go about it due to the sensitivity of pregnancy. Very quickly, maybe you could show us just maybe 2 techniques or postures that pregnant expectant women can do during yoga that are safe for them. Very briefly as we wind up.
Sure. Thank you very much once again. So yoga is for everybody. I'm going to show you happy baby posture, working on your whole spine. Just first of all, lie down flat on the mat. Bring your feet up towards your chest. With 2-piece fingers, grab your big toes and bring your knees on the inside of your armpits, feet facing the top. Now, as you can see, this is creating a general opening for the person who is experiencing low back pain, which I believe expectant mothers feel. Now, why am I swinging side to side? I'm actually massaging the muscles on my lower back and my whole spine. Ladies at home, waterfall is very good for you. Then do your scissor poses, thinking about your belly, moving your feet up and down, making sure they don't touch. And that's how you practice yoga at home.
All right, that is how you practice yoga in the comfort of your house. Just get a mat. If you don't have a mat, get something that is thick to just cushion your knees and your back as you do some of those techniques. We have been speaking with Sonia Birdie, who is a certified yoga and meditation instructor. And remember, all these exercises can be done by anyone, at any age, at home, and you just need to just know the proper techniques and how to go about it. That is Sonia Birdie. You can get her on social media at Sonia Birdie Kenya. She also practices hot yoga. You can be able to know what that is about to help you know how you can employ yoga at home to just engage your mind, your body, do something. Don't just sit down. Start doing yoga. And of course, as she has said, yoga is for anyone. It does not discriminate against any person, anyone at any age. Even our expectant mothers, you can be able to do yoga at home for just wellness during this time that we are at home. So that is that. But remember, we have another interview coming up in a bit, so do stay with us. The hashtag is still Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. At Boy at KBC Channel 1 TV is how you can find us on Twitter. On Facebook, our page is KBC Channel 1, and my handle is Boy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So do stay with us. We take a very quick breather. We'll be right back with our next guest. Lifestyle topics and issues here and there. And from yoga and wellness, we now want to go to the modeling industry. And we have with us one young lady who is not only a model, but she's also studying geology at the Southeastern University of Kenya. And one thing I love about her is the passion and the drive that she has behind her modeling journey. Of course, she will be telling us more about that, how the journey has been so far, just combining her studies and modeling, how they complement each other. She will be telling us in a bit. But remember, hashtag Good Morning Kenya, at Boy, at KBC Channel 1. Those are our social media handles on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So with us now, we have Grace Akinyi, who is an undergrad studying geology at the Southeastern University of Kenya, and she also doubles up as a model. Hi, Grace. Hi. Karibu sana. You are welcome. How can guys find you on social media?
On Instagram, Grace Akini, Facebook. Yeah.
All right. How is it studying geology? Let's start there.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It requires a lot of dedication, a lot of hard work.
Yes.
It's a tough industry.
It is.
It's meant for the tough people though.
Why did you choose it even to start in the first place? I mean, this is a whole degree. What was it about it that made you want to pursue it, geology?
I believe
All right,
Africa.
as you think about it, let us sort out some issues here and there. Remember, this is Grace Akinyi, and we have in her in studio today because she is taking part in the Miss Pan-Africa International Beauty Pageant. Now, she has taken part in so many other beauty pageants, which she will be telling us a bit in not too long. And of course, that whole experience, and as just mentioned, she is an undergrad pursuing her degree in geology, and she will be telling us how those two complement each other, given that, you know, for most people, when it comes to what you love doing, or rather your passion and academics, most of them tend to complement each other. But how do these two complement each other? That is what she will be telling us in not too long. But remember, questions, comments, clarifications, anything that you might want to know from our guests, we welcome you to be part of it. And especially for our young girls out there who are looking to join this modeling industry, you have so many questions, unanswered questions for that matter when it comes to the modeling career, how viable it is, how acceptable it is, especially for the African woman and the whole African setup. Given we are a conservative and a cultural people, any questions that you may be having about modeling, please shoot them through. We will be addressing them. We will be hearing from Grace herself. She has been here for quite some time, so she will tell us how her journey has been, how it has been, the support system, and just the modeling industry as a whole in this time. So Grace, coming back to you, you were telling us, you know, what is it about geology that drew you to want to study it? Ama iliwaga zile baptism by fire?
First, when I started pursuing my degree in geology, it was just like any other career to me. But right now, I see something deeper in it.
Yeah.
You know, Africa is a blessed continent in terms of natural resources. So me combining my modeling passion to geology, it came as a result of, I see Africa as a very blessed continent.
Okay.
But somehow, we find we have so many natural resources which are supposed to benefit us as Africans.
Yeah.
But then, in the same aspect, we find they are more of a curse than a blessing. I'll give an instance of something like Lake Victoria.
Yes.
It's one of the largest freshwater lakes in Africa. So, in normal sense, it's supposed to be a blessing. But we find that along Lake Victoria, that's where we find the highest number of cases of HIV, child labor, school dropouts, early teenage pregnancies. So when I started my career as a geologist, it was just a normal
Any other career path.
But right now, I see something deeper into it, and that's what I want to get into.
All right. Now, let's talk a bit about modeling. At what point did you find yourself also, you know, just being interested in wanting to become a model? Where did the love for modeling come from?
I feel like it's more of inborn.
Yeah? It's always been there?
I've not always been there, but it has just always been inside me when I was right from when I was young.
Yeah.
I loved watching pageants. I loved what models were doing, how they were walking on runways. And so I was like, I want to do this. But then there was no one to guide me through that. And then somehow I was also so afraid of just pursuing that dream.
So you must have been one of those young girls who used to dress up, put on your mom's makeup, her
No,
were you one of those?
Not really. I was never that. Actually, I'm not
Really?
into makeup. I'm not into fashion and stuff.
Dressing up?
Yeah, I'm not into all that.
Yeah.
But then, I see it as something far much deeper than that. To me, it's more of a platform to just be able to reach people.
Okay.
So it's not about dressing, makeup, or that glamorous look, you know. It's all about how can I reach people through this?
Mhm.
I just want to change the narrative. You know, when people look at models, they're like, it's all
just about the beauty. Yeah.
And that glamorous look. But I want to bring a new picture into it. I want to combine my education, my academic qualifications, and my passion towards modeling to impact lives.
All right. And speaking of impacting lives, maybe you could tell us some of the other pageantry competitions that you have been able to take part of, and what impact do you feel they left on you and you left on them as you look to just bring out this new face of modeling?
Funny thing, I've never taken part in any major pageant. Just when I was in high school, I did my first pageant in school. Aside from that, I've only taken part in one competition called Africa Nativity Week, which is conducted by Adat Art and Science Company. And when I won that, I felt that now, since I won this, I can do this.
There's nothing I cannot do.
Yeah. So I decided, let me get into this. Let me do this. I think I'm now ready.
Yeah.
Because at first I used to feel that I was not ready for it at some point. So when I won that, I said, okay, I feel like I'm now ready to do this. So when I saw the flyers for Miss Pan-African Queen, I decided to try it out, and here I am today.
Now, before we even get to this whole contest, the Miss Pan-African International, looking at your journey, the few years you've been in this modeling industry, what are some of those things that you feel are a barrier for so many young girls who are looking to join this industry?
Okay, the modeling industry is crazy. You know, first of all, when you tell someone, I want to be a model, in most cases, they'll discourage you. They'll tell you that, you know, they view models as it's something, they sexualize modeling. So it's a very crazy industry, and it's something that if a young girl wants to get into it, then she has to really be prepared towards it.
And what do you think as a society we need to change to just make modeling a more acceptable career for our young girls who really love it and want to go into it, so that when your child comes to you and tells you I want to become a model, you don't think of it as a superficial career or you discourage them from doing it? What do you think we need to change? Some of those narratives.
We need to bring more value to it.
Yeah.
For instance, let's say me taking part in this competition, I'm looking at it in a different perspective. You see, when I stand up to talk, I bring more value to it in that I have other things I can accompany with modeling, aside from just walking on runways and just showing off that glamorous look.
Okay.
I bring in certain things that the society will actually see that, you know, this thing it's not just about a beautiful face. So there's something more that we can bring into it. So if we combine the two, then I think we'll change the narrative.
So just using modeling as the face of addressing some of these societal issues that we deal with on a daily.
Exactly.
All right. Now let's talk a bit about Miss Pan-African. How did you find out about it in the first place?
I just saw it on Instagram.
On social media?
Yeah, it was like 2 days to the deadline, and I was like, I should try this. I think initially I wanted to take part in a different pageant. So I was ready for it. And then the application was postponed to August. So I was there on social media. I'm like, I was ready to take part in this pageant, but then it's been postponed. So what do I do? So I came across Miss Pan-African Queen, and I was like, this is somehow similar to what I wanted to do. And since I'm already ready for this, let me just jump into this one and go on with it.
All right. Now, looking at this pageantry, now you have the opportunity to just go there and bring some of these solutions that you're hoping to that are going to change the narrative about modeling. Maybe you could tell us a bit about that. What are some of those solutions and rather options that you're planning to come up to bring to the table when it comes to this pageantry?
First of all, right now with the issue of COVID-19, we've experienced certain things like early teenage pregnancies.
Yeah.
And then a lot of kids are now resolving into looking for jobs since most schools are closed. So one of the issues I'm hoping to address is 1, child labor, 2, teenage pregnancies, and 3, just providing or bringing in the aspect of education, not just primary education and also tertiary education, to younger women so that it can help them sustain their lives.
It can help them find sustainable means of
Yeah,
keeping
exactly.
up. And also for the African woman, you know, this is a pageantry that involves the entire continent, all the other young girls out there across the continent. What do you think such a platform encourages them to do?
Okay, Miss Pan-African Queen is a beauty pageant that aims at, that identifies women and promotes the leadership qualities in them. So it's not just a pageant, it's something that is geared more towards leadership.
Yeah.
So this platform, aside from just giving me or putting me out there to be able to provide sustainable solutions to women, it also nurtures me into leadership as a woman.
It nurtures you into leadership, and that is what you're hoping to just change.
Yeah,
this whole narrative about dependency in women.
Exactly.
All right. Now, remember, Miss Pan-Africa Queen International is a pageantry that is going to be taking place very soon. Of course, she will be giving us the deets on how you, if you want to support her, how you can do so, how you can engage if you are a young girl out there and you want to also take part in this. She'll tell us if the deadline, I think you had mentioned that when you applied, the deadline was 2 days away. So we will know about that deadline. And of course, for our young girls out there, this is for you, Miss Pan-Africa Queen. It's about just letting you know that you have the power to do all that you want. You have the power to change the narrative about the African woman, especially when it comes to modeling the dark-skinned girl. Change that, and of course so many other societal issues that we get to deal with on a daily, and modeling is one of those channels that can effectively do this. Now, for other young girls that are maybe hoping that this contest, the deadline hasn't passed. Has it passed?
Yeah, right now they cannot apply.
You cannot apply, but they can support.
Yeah, but they can support me.
Yeah, so how can they do so?
Okay, so 1, in case you are out there as a young woman and there's something probably you feel that my platform can shed light on, you could send in your views or your... In case you're out there and you feel that there's something that me as Grace Akinyi, I can use this platform to shed light on, you could share your thoughts with me so that we can see how to come up with sustainable solutions towards that.
So they can always reach out to you. And how can they do so? On social media?
Yeah, they can reach out to me on social media, Grace Akinyi, throughout all platforms.
All right. And if you were to win this contest, what would that mean for you? And especially looking at those things that you want to change, some of those sustainable solutions that you're talking about.
Wow. It will mean a lot. It will mean a lot. 1, aside from just kickstarting my career as a model, it will mean that I would now have a voice for other young women and other young Africans. So if I was to win this, then I would do my level best just to be able to uplift an African child and to show an African child that home is the best and that in Africa we have all we need just to reach those global platforms. So I don't like the idea of Africans feeling that, you know, Africa is poor, we are suffering, we don't have this, and then they're always looking for opportunities somewhere else. So I'm hoping that through this platform, I'll be able to just inspire an African child to believe in himself, to use the resources around him to better life.
All right. And also speaking, let's talk a bit about academics. You are also still pursuing your degree in geology.
Yeah.
How did you drop out? No. Now, for those who, of course, we are trying to change the narrative around modeling to just encourage other young people. If you're passionate about it, you can take it up. But you find some are compromising their academics on account of modeling. Casing example, let's just use you as an example. You are pursuing a degree in geology. You find a situation where some decide to drop out of school to just take on modeling full-time because they feel this is for me. And maybe from your point of thinking, how vital is it, just to keep pursuing your academics as you do modeling also, both at the same time?
So, okay, I think people drop out when they find that probably their interests do not align to whatever they are studying.
Yeah.
But on my case, you see, at first I didn't really see this, but now as a model, I have ways, or I see a way in which I can be able to combine my academic qualifications to my passion. So, for those who are dropping out of school
unnecessarily,
I think there's a way. Everything has a way of connecting. Yeah, we can connect. You can find a way of connecting whatever you're studying into your passion. But this one goes out to the young ones who still have not started their career path. Choose something that aligns to your passion.
Okay.
So that when you get into that point, you don't have to drop out of school.
Yeah, you don't have to drop one on the account of the other.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, support system, how has the support been around, in terms of your family encouraging you to keep doing what you're doing, and how has also that helped you further on your career, especially in the modeling industry, given that it came after you had already started pursuing your academics?
Wow, my support system has been great. I've received tremendous support from my friends, my family, and when I was in high school, I took part in a beauty pageant in my school. So, my teachers from high school, my former schoolmates, everyone just came in to support me, and I was the most voted contestant in Kenya, So right now, the whole world is looking at me to represent them.
Yes. And you're going to be one of the ones who are contesting to represent Kenya.
Exactly.
In the Pan-African Queen.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. And also for parents who are struggling to support their young girls and even boys who are in the modeling industry, what would you like to say to them?
Just use what you have. It doesn't take much. It only takes talent. Just get out of your comfort zone and just use what you have. It doesn't take much. It has not, until now, it has not costed me anything to get where I am.
Yes.
So it doesn't cost any. So long as you have that passion, just look for platforms to be able to show your talent. Yeah.
And we also have situations where we have so many modeling agencies, and for some, they are taking advantage of young girls who do not know, young girls and boys who do not know how to go about this modeling industry. You find a girl is so passionate about modeling, she signs up to a modeling agency, and kumbe it's just a front, and they always ask for money due to register, we need money for a photo shoot here and there, and then they end up scamming these young girls and boys. When it comes to knowing where to go to source information about modeling, and especially the agencies, how did you go about it, and how would you advise other young girls and boys who are looking to join this industry?
Okay, first of all, I'm not signed to any agency.
Okay.
But then that's a very big challenge. Actually, that's the biggest challenge in the modeling industry.
Yeah.
Where girls are being conned, girls are being led into situations. At times, someone comes to you and tells you that, I want to make you a model.
Yeah.
But then he ends up putting you into certain situations where at times they even sexualize it,
Yeah.
So what I would tell young girls is that be conscious about the agency you associate yourself with. There's a lot of information online. So before, consult. There are so many avenues through which you can consult on which agency to join.
Yeah.
So be conscious. And then when the deal is too good,
think twice.
I've learned from that. When nothing comes easy.
Yeah.
So
when you see an experience you went through?
Yeah, I've learned from that. Nothing comes easy.
Yeah.
So if you see someone is giving you some lucrative deals, then you better think twice. Nothing
And
comes
it's too
easy.
good to be true.
Yeah, when the deal is too good to be true, you better think twice.
You better think twice. Don't get duped into situations that, you know, might end up in not very nice consequences, especially for you as a model.
Yeah, exactly. If you see something like, you see an agent bringing you a deal and you are already imagining how you're going to be a millionaire, flying
Overnight.
on those jets and visiting all these lucrative places, then that's something you need to think twice about.
You need to be very careful, especially where agents are involved. You know, there are good ones, and there are those who are just outright looking to exploit the innocence of some of these young girls and boys.
Yeah, and you know, when young girls get into modeling, most of the time they're so ambitious.
Yeah.
You know, they see the lives online and they're like, I want to be this. But they don't know what it takes to get there. So if you are getting into it with that mentality that, you know, I want to be rich, I want to do this, I want to do that, then that's the problem.
Okay.
And then when they see that in you, it becomes better for them to take advantage of you.
All right. Now, speaking of what it takes to make it in this industry, from the few years you've been at it, I'm sure there's those lessons that you've learned along the way that, you know, you would like other young girls to know before they get into this industry, so that they may avoid some mistakes that maybe you made. What does it take to just make it in this modeling industry so far from what you have learned?
I think one lesson or one ethic that guides me is be yourself. Be your very authentic self. Stop trying to imitate someone else. Stop trying to be someone else. Have your values that will always guide you. As for me, my values are, I want to inspire, to impact, and to educate. So long as
impact and educate.
Yeah, so long as any deal that comes my way does not inspire someone in a way, educate someone in a way, or impact someone in a way, then it doesn't work for me. So have your values, have that thing that, you know, this is what guides me. And above all, trust in God.
Oh, I like that. Trust in God.
Yeah.
Now, we're in this pandemic, you know, so many businesses have gone under, and of course, the modeling industry has also been affected. But of course, we have young girls who are still looking for opportunities. How would you advise them to go about this? I mean, you found out about this opportunity on social media, avenues that can provide opportunities for career advancement, even during this time that we are in.
So there are so many. One thing I've come to realize right now is that there are so many opportunities out here. It's just that we don't go out of our way to find out about them. So when you, online, okay, in as much as there's a lot of questions about the online platforms,
yes,
there are equally so many opportunities you can find online. During this period, I've been able to learn a lot. Actually, yes, I lost my job. I've also been equally affected, just like every other Kenyan. But then looking at the positive side of it, I've been able to learn a lot. There are so many competitions online. For those who are probably looking for funds for their projects and stuff, there are so many organizations online that can fund you. So just look, the opportunities are there, you just need to look for them.
You just need to get out of your comfort zone,
and
wait for things to come, and go out there and look for something.
Exactly.
All right, now as we draw the conversation to a close, maybe in regards to this whole competition and your journey as a model, as a geologist, I love that, by the way, just your word of advice to our young girls and boys who are looking to join into this industry. They all come in with all these expectations, and then maybe when reality hits, it hits hard, and some sink into depression. Learning to just find a balance and something to anchor you in this modeling industry, so that you don't get swayed by the good and the bad. You just, whether times are good or whether they're bad, you are still anchored.
Okay, first of all, where I find my strength is through prayer, my spirituality, and then have a support system around you, someone to guide you, a mentor, someone who will be able, at least someone who has been there, someone who can show you, you know, I've been here, these are the challenges that are there, this is how you can go about this. And then when you hit the bottom rock, you have someone you can turn to.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Have somebody who can always hold you down when things get really tough.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So how can guys support you in terms of voting to just help you bring this award home?
Okay, right now I'm looking for sponsorships for my trip to Ghana. The finals will be held in Ghana in November. So right now I'm looking for sponsorships. So if there is anyone who would like to associate or partner with me in this, then they can reach me through my social media platforms or through my email address.
Give us your social handles so that can also look out for you.
I said previously, Grace Akinyi throughout Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. They can also reach me through my email address, akinyigrace96@gmail.com.
All right. So that is the main form of support that you're looking for right now to
Yeah,
help you bring this title home.
Yeah, the support I'm looking for right now is partnerships and sponsorships for this trip.
All right. And it's going to be taking place in Ghana come November.
Yeah, in November, from November.
All right. Thank you so much for being with us this morning, Grace. That is Grace Akinyi. She is a model taking part in the Miss Pan-African Queen International, and we do hope she wins this model. That's how models win.
Yeah.
You have to be gracious at all times, eh?
Yeah, you're a queen, so...
Yes, and you gotta keep it like a queen.
Yeah, exactly.
Gracious at all times. All right, there you go. That is Grace Akinyi. She is an undergrad pursuing her bachelor's degree in geology. But of course, she's still doubling as a model, hopefully hoping to represent Kenya at the Miss Pan-Africa Queen pageant that is going to be taking place in November in Ghana. So if you are a young girl out there and you want to join this industry, just check her out on social media. Look at how you can learn from her, get support from her, and know how you can also venture into this industry. I mean, she has been at it for quite some time now, and the few years and time that she has been at it, she has learned the most from it. So that is Grace Akinyi. Maybe your parting shot to our viewers and our aspiring young girls and boys.
Okay, my parting shot is Africa is beautiful. Africa is a beautiful continent. Let's embrace Africa. Let's support Africa. And let's brand Africa. Let the world know Africa for what Africa is.
All right. Show them what we got in Africa.
Exactly.
Yes, we need to change this narrative about the dark-skinned girl, the African girl, and, just create more opportunities when it comes to this industry for our girls. Thank you so much, Grace. Grace Akinyi, once again, one of the representatives for Kenya in the Miss Pan-Africa Queen pageantry. So get her on social media, know how you can support her. If you can sponsor her, but then please do, because, this is a joint effort. She might be one of those who are going to be representing Kenya. So if you can support her, please do so. That is that for that segment. But remember, this is Good Morning Kenya. We're going to take a very quick break, but we'll be right back. We just want to have a quick look at what is happening on our social media, as well as a final look at the road this morning. So Doreen is coming up in a bit. Keep it here. Hashtag Good Morning Kenya at Jane Wamboy is my handle on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Do talk to us. And of course, at KBC Channel 1 is the official handle for the station. Stay with us. We'll be right back at a final look at the roads. All right, so we have exactly 15 minutes before we get to call it a show. Remember, we want to have a quick look at the roads, a final look at the roads before we get to call it a discussion, to let you know how things are looking now, which alternatives you can take to just get to your place of work if you haven't left already, your place of business, how you can get there with the most ease, avoiding traffic, because that is why we are here. We are the plug for you to just make things easier for you. And of course, courtesy of the one and only Doreen Arange, Traffic Marshal A1. She will be letting us know which roads she's looking at right now. Remember, she's been looking at an array of roads just for you. So, hashtag Good Morning Kenya, hashtag Traffic Marshal A1. Miss D, how are things looking?
we're looking at Outer Ring Road, which is our which is our focus this morning. But before I get to look at that road, let me just ask you, we've been really seeing so much happening on our roads in terms of activities. We've been seeing footbridge installations on major roads. And as I was telling our viewers, at least the better part of this week, that has been our focus, just trying to see how Kenyan urban roads authorities are doing in terms of footbridge installations. We looked at Ngong Road. There are 3 slated to be installed there. We looked at Thika Sipa Highway. There's an ongoing, process. This is around Survey area. And on along Outer Ring Road, which is our focus this Wednesday morning, at least 5 have already been installed. From your perspective, and even the road that you use, how do you feel about this? Do you think that at least they're doing a good job? Should they continue at least ensuring that, they erect these bridges?
It has been a long time coming, especially on the footbridges. We are seeing so many people losing their lives. And there was this time people were making fun of this, and still this image of a goat using a footbridge, and people still insisting on crossing the highways, and yet there's a footbridge up there. But and also on the flip side, we don't have enough footbridges for pedestrians to use, and that is why we end up with situations where people just opt to just run across the road, and in that running, unapata mtu amechotwa
very fast.
Very fast.
But
fast.
You raised something very important, just saying there, and I hadn't even thought about it, that yes, these footbridges are there, and this is why, again, Kura is installing them, because, time and again, I keep telling our viewers that when you look at traffic, sometimes it's not just quite about the many vehicles that we keep talking about. Sometimes it's because of lack of proper footbridges, and even in some roads, lack of these footbridges thereof. Because, first of all, if you don't have bridges, especially on major highways, it leads to traffic snarl up. How so? Imagine the traffic police always have to stop these vehicles for you to pass. So when we have them, then it makes it easier and it reduces on the traffic flow. And that is why we are here, to just try and see how best we can reduce traffic. But you said that sometimes people tend to use the highways, the roads, and they forget about the bridges. So do you feel like it's a lack of proper information, or a lack of how may I call it, like lack of proper sensitization for people to learn and to know that this is for them and they need to use them?
I think sometimes tunakuanga tu kichwa ngumu. We just choose to be arrogant, and yet we know. But also people don't really understand the law. If you are knocked by a car when you are within 100 meters of a footbridge, you are liable. Because there is a footbridge for you to use there. But you choose not to use it. You just choose to run across the road, and then you get hit by a car, and you're within 100 meters. That is on you. And of course, information is out there in the public, but I don't think most people know. And at times, unakuwa tu kichwa ngumu unapiga hesabu. Nikipanda hapa nitembe mpaka pale. As opposed to running across, which saves me time. People choose to save time as opposed to put value on their lives, because you never know when you get hit by a car. Things just happen quick, fast, and you're like, okay, now you're here. The next minute you've been run over by a car. So,
well, fair enough. But now let's look at our roads this morning. As I had mentioned, our focus is along Outer Ring Road. And just like I said, it's because of, at least 5 bridges have already been installed. 4 have been earmarked. 2 are slated to be installed along this road. It's the latest highway to be reconstructed in the country, at least, first of all, to reduce on the traffic flow, given that it's one of those busy roads. But just starting from Feather Estate, as you head over to the city center, doesn't really look so bad. Slight traffic build-up next to Pipeline. That's the Pipeline railway stop. That's just where traffic begins to slightly build up there. And there's a cocktail of colors, like I keep mentioning to you, and especially just on the lane that is leaving the estates. As you head over to the city center, there's a bit of maroon, red, and orange. Now, where you're seeing the orange, again, for the benefit of our viewers, that is indicating that traffic has begun to just slightly build up, but it's a manageable kind of traffic, and this is specifically around Pipeline area as you head over to the city center. Past that, traffic at a standstill just next to the stage Mpia there, and then a bit of traffic moving at a pretty slow pace before you get over to Maini Estate. Now, on this specific area where there's traffic at a standstill, it is actually a bus terminus. It is very obvious in areas where it's a bus terminus, so ultimately what you're seeing is exactly what we'd expect to see. On the other lane, the one that is coming from all the way from Thika Road, from Manyanja Road, from Juja Road, as well as from Donholm as you head over to the other side of Outer Ring, going all the way to Mombasa Road, branching off to Feather Road. On that specific area, traffic just really, actually in this area, coming all the way from Feather, is just traffic on both lanes. Now, this is quite unlikely because it's actually traffic on both lanes. It's not what you'd expect to see, especially on minor roads, given that this is one of those minor roads as it heads over to Feather Estate. But look, that is just what we are seeing. So what this means is that if you're coming from Feather, coming from Tumaini Estate, or using Outer Ring Road heading over to the city center, then you may just have to make do with this traffic because this is one of those slip routes that branches off from Outer Ring Road, and there's no alternative route on this specific one. So you may just have to make do with that traffic there. So that's how the roads are looking like this morning. A quick look was along Outer Ring Road, and this last link up segment as just look at Matters traffic, and that is where we bring it to a close this morning when it comes to Matters traffic.
Also matters to do with Good Morning Kenya. All right, so we want to thank you so much for being with us from the start up until now. We want to call it a show. Remember, we do this every Monday through to Thursday, so we are still here with you tomorrow morning. And tomorrow being Thursday, we always have, that platform for our children, our teens, our youth to just talk about things that are affecting them. And tomorrow we are going to be having that discussion once again. So keep it here. Make sure you catch up with us nice, bright, and early from 7 a.m. all through to 10 a.m. Nothing but the best of Good Morning Kenya. I'm Jane Wamboy. Have a lovely day. God bless. See you tomorrow.